Nepal government issues new guidelines to mitigate risk of Nipah virus transmission following reported cases in India. Nepal's Election Commission confirms printing of over 28.3 million ballot papers for March 5 elections towards the proportional representation. Gold prices soar and plunge, leaving Nepal's bullion market in turmoil. India's budget for next fiscal year focuses on nurturing rural growth and high-speed rail expansion, allocates 8 billion rupees grant to Nepal. Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei issues a stark warning of a regional war to US if military action launched. And Carlos Alcaraz makes history by defeating Novak Djokovic 2-6, 6-2, 6-3, 7-5 in the men's final at the Australian Open. Good evening, I'm Vijata Bhandari and this is NTV World Primetime News, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Across the globe it is 1:15 p.m. in London, 10:15 p.m. in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Nepal government has issued new guidelines to mitigate the risk of Nipah virus transmission following a case reported in West Bengal, India. Ministry of Health and Population has emphasized early identification, quarantine and public awareness as key preventive measures. The guidelines also stress the importance of isolating infected individuals and avoiding contact with bats or raw date juice. Health workers are required to use personal protective equipment or PPE, and a 21-day observation period is mandated for individuals in contact with the infected. As there is no specific treatment for Nipah, officials state that care will be symptomatic. Election Commission of Nepal has confirmed the printing of 28.3 million ballot papers for the proportional representation elections on March 5. Additionally, the printing of ballot papers for 25 districts in the direct election category has been completed. By Saturday evening, the Commission had printed 3 million ballot papers. The printing is being carried out by Janak Shiksha Samagri Kendra Limited in Bhaktapur. The Election Commission is ensuring all preparations are in place ahead of the upcoming elections. Election campaigns in Nepal are increasingly targeting cities as candidates respond to the growing number of urban voters. In major cities such as Kathmandu, Pokhara, Biratnagar, Butwal and Narayangarh, politicians are holding team meetings, personal interactions and contact forums to engage with the voters. Many citizens now reside in cities for work, education or business, returning to their villages only to cast ballots, making urban campaigning essential. Cold and snowing weather further limits travel to rural areas, prompting candidates to focus on city-based outreach. This trend extends beyond the capital, with emerging urban centers like Butwal and Thangari hosting numerous inter-district election programs. The United Arab Emirates or UAE has granted pardons to 267 Nepali prisoners as a part of its National Day or Eid al-Ittihad celebrations. This gesture is seen as an effort to strengthen the diplomatic relationship between Nepal and the UAE. Nepali nationals who have been serving sentences for various offences in the UAE prisons will now be able to return home after completing any remaining legal procedures. Nepal's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has expressed gratitude for this humanitarian move. The UAE is home to a significant number of migrant workers from Nepal, and this decision is expected to positively impact bilateral relations. Meanwhile, the statement further requests Nepali citizens to postpone any plans to travel to Iran in view of the unfolding developments in the country on January 18. The Foreign Ministry has also urged Nepali nationals currently residing or working in Iran to leave the country at the earliest possible opportunity or to keep their travel documents ready. President Ramchandra Podha will embark on a 4-day official visit to Japan from today. The visit, at the invitation of the Japanese government, marks the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Nepal and Japan. The President will be accompanied by a Nepali delegation and is expected to participate in a special reception hosted by Japan on February 2nd. The visit will include discussions on strengthening the bilateral ties. President Paudel is scheduled to return to Nepal on the afternoon of February 4. It's time for a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. For the last 2 weeks, the fluctuation in the prices of gold and silver has made headlines, not just in Nepal but globally. From single-day rise of 20,000 plus rupees per tola last week to traders pulling down their shutters due to extreme volatility, the bullion market in itself is confused. Amid all these uncertainties, fears are rife whether gold is still the safest investment option and if the bullion market is heading to a crash. Sabika Shrestha explores the insecurity of the bullion market.
जनतालाई धेरै गाह्रो भयो नि अब यो बिहा गर्नेहरूले के गरे सुन अब नक्ली सुन लाउनु पर्यो कि चाहिँ सुनको भाव बढेर चोरी हुने भइसक्यो धेरै नेपालको लागि राम्रो होइन यो
Prices of gold and silver in Nepal, which had been rising steadily for months, have entered a phase of extreme volatility, closely tracking fluctuations in the international bullion market. Fluctuation in the international and domestic gold markets run parallel, and Nepal has now witnessed its highest ever surge in gold prices. On Thursday, price of gold in the Nepali market jumped to an unprecedented 3,40,000 rupees per tola, recording single-day increase of 20,500 rupees per tola, the highest ever in the country's bullion history. The surge was followed by an equally sharp decline on Friday when prices dropped to 3,18,800 rupees per tola, underscoring the market's instability. Over the past 2 weeks alone, price of the yellow metal in Nepal increased by around 62,000 rupees per tola, while prices have climbed by nearly 2,33,000 rupees per tola over the past 3 years. Tej Ratna Sakya, former president of Nepal Gold and Silver Dealers Federation, warns that such unnatural growth may trigger a correction, though the timing remains uncertain.
Our market is dependent upon the international market. And the rate of gold is fluctuating in the international market as the condition of the dollar or the market situation. Nowadays we can see the gold has risen up very much 2-3 days before. That was the highest price. People are saying that there should be one position that will come as a crash. The market will crash. They are calling this. But now we have seen that this downfall is called healthy correction only.
Perception of gold varies across regions. In many Asian countries, including Nepal and India, gold is primarily viewed as a cultural asset deeply tied to weddings, festivals, and life cycle rituals. In contrast, European markets largely treat gold as a fashion commodity, investment instrument, or financial security. Wary of the course correction, traders in Nepal are already pulling down their shutters.
Fluctuations are mostly driven by geopolitics. So it's very difficult to predict because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. If something happens in Middle East, the prices go up. If something happens in Western countries, the prices go up. So it's very difficult to say, and it has been very difficult to plan our business properly because of this. So, yeah, very uncertain future, we would say.
Observing recent price fluctuations and learning from global trends, Nepalis are increasingly viewing gold as an investment option. Traders say February could play a crucial role in determining future gold prices, as several global developments are expected to influence the bullion market. As market remains extremely volatile amid fears of global bullion market crash, consumers of late have turned to silver as the better investment option. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Rasila Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
Nepal's anti-corruption agency, the Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority, or the CIAA, has filed a corruption case against 8 officials of the Udaipur Cement, which is a state-owned company. The accused include the former general manager Surendra Kumar Paudel and other senior staff members. The case involves alleged financial irregularities totaling between 120 million and 460 million Nepali rupees, which is approximately 900,000 to 3.5 million US dollars. Public sector corruption has been an ongoing issue in Nepal, with the CIAA taking action in an effort to promote accountability and transparency in the state enterprises. This case underscores Nepal's continued commitment to addressing corruption in its public sector. Meanwhile, farmers in Thading are growing increasingly concerned as a prolonged dry spell severely impacts their crops. With little to no rainfall, key winter crops like mustard, wheat and potatoes are struggling, and vegetable crops are at risk of significant damage if the dry conditions persist. Streams and rivers which farmers depend on for irrigation are shrinking, leading to water shortages in several agricultural areas. Mustard crops in particular have suffered the most, as the lack of rain has disrupted the critical pod formation stage, resulting in major losses. The District Agriculture Development Office in Thading estimates a significant decline in mustard production this year, marking a difficult season for farmers who had hoped for a better yield after the challenges of last year. Today marks the conclusion of the Swastani Vrat, a traditional religious observance observed mainly by women in Nepal. The month-long fast, which began on the full moon day of Posh, which falls under mid-January, involves fasting and listening to sacred stories from the Skanda Puran. These stories, particularly the dialogue between Kumar and the sage Agastya, are believed to bring spiritual and physical strength. Swastani is an important part of Nepali Hinduism, especially in the hilly and mountainous regions of the country. The ritual concludes today with the formal cessation of storytelling, after which participants will break their fast. International news coming up next. For now, a short break. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented the budget for the financial year 2026-27 in the Parliament today, which is aimed at boosting domestic manufacturing, strengthening rural livelihoods, and driving long-term economic growth. Addressing the House, Finance Minister Sitharaman announced the setting up of 3 new chemical parks across the country to boost domestic manufacturing and cut import dependence. Sitharaman also declared a sharp increase in capital expenditure, raising the apex target to 1.22 trillion for fiscal year 27, up from 1.12 trillion in the current fiscal year.
Public capital expenditure has increased manifold from 2 lakh crore in 2014-15 to an allocation of 11.2 lakh crore in BE 25-26. In this coming year, that is financial year 2026-27, I propose to increase it to 12.2 lakh crores to continue the momentum.
In a major boost to sustainable passenger transport, the Indian Finance Minister also unveiled plans to develop 7 high-speed rail corridors connecting key cities across the country. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei issued a stark warning of a regional war on Sunday if the United States launches military action following recent deployments of U.S. forces to the Gulf region. The warning comes amid heightened tensions in the Gulf, where Washington has moved additional troops, naval assets and missile defense systems in response to what it described as growing threats from Iranian-aligned forces. It is said the rhetoric reflects long-standing distrust between Tehran and Washington, particularly over Iran's nuclear program, regional influence, and the presence of U.S. forces in the neighboring countries. Khamenei's statement is likely intended both as a deterrent to U.S. military planners and a signal to domestic audiences, emphasizing Iran's military preparedness and regional influence. U.S. President Trump, however, has confirmed Iran is in serious discussions with the U.S. following the steady buildup of American military forces in the Gulf. Humanitarian aid trucks, ambulances, and a construction crane entered through the Egyptian side of the Rafah border, crossing the Gaza Strip in northeastern Egypt on Sunday, as Israel partially reopened the crossing following months of pressure from humanitarian organizations and the international governments. The reopening marks a limited easing of restrictions at one of Gaza's most critical access points after prolonged closures amid the ongoing conflict. Officials said the current arrangement allows for the movement of people through the crossing, while access for commercial goods and large-scale humanitarian supplies remain restricted. Aid groups have repeatedly warned that the closure of Rafah has severely hampered efforts to deliver medical assistance, food and essential supplies to Gaza's population, which has been facing acute shortages after months of fighting and widespread destruction. The Rafah crossing is Gaza's only gateway not directly controlled by Israel and has been long viewed as a lifeline for residents seeking medical treatment abroad or refuge from the conflict. Mobile services remain suspended and heavily armed security personnel patrolled major roads and neighborhoods in Pakistan's southwestern city of Quetta on Sunday, a day after coordinated attacks by Baloch separatist militants killed more than 33 people. Authorities said the assaults targeted multiple locations and were aimed at security forces and civilian areas, heightening fears of further violence in the restive province of Balochistan. Security officials reported that at least 92 militants were killed during subsequent operations, including 3 suicide bombers who detonated explosives during the attacks. Hospitals across Quetta were placed on emergency footing as the wounded were rushed in, while checkpoints were reinforced and additional troops deployed across the city. Residents described scenes of fear and uncertainty, with businesses closed and public involvement sharply reduced. Government officials condemned the violence and vowed to continue operations against militant groups, while urging residents to remain vigilant as security forces work to restore the order. Voters in Thailand's capital cast their ballots at the central polling station for Bangkok's Pathum district on Sunday, as advance voting got underway ahead of the general election scheduled for February 8. Long lines formed at polling centers as residents took advantage of early voting provisions designed to accommodate those unable to vote on the election day. The Election Commission said more than 2.4 million people nationwide have registered to vote in advance, a figure that reflects heightened public engagement in the closely watched election. Authorities said polling stations opened on time and voting proceeded without major disruptions, while election officials monitored compliance with electoral regulations. The general election is expected to shape Thailand's political direction amid ongoing debates over economic policy, governance, and democratic reforms, making turnout and voter participation a key focus for both officials and political parties. Time again for a breather. We'll be back with more international news. Thousands of cyclists and demonstrators took to the streets of Minneapolis over the weekend to protest against the Trump administration's aggressive immigration enforcement operation and to honor the memory of Alex Pretty, a 37-year-old intensive care nurse who was fatally shot on January 24 by the federal immigration agents earlier this month. The memorial ride, which saw participants riding bicycles past a makeshift shrine to Pretty and other victims of federal enforcement in the city, was part of a broader outcry against Operation Metro Surge, a large-scale immigration crackdown. Protesters carried signs calling for accountability and an end to what they describe as excessive federal force. The crackdown deployed by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security that has brought thousands of arrests and heightened tensions between federal officials and local communities. Elon Musk's SpaceX has applied to launch 1 million satellites into Earth's orbit to power artificial intelligence. The application claims orbital data centers are the most cost and energy efficient way to meet the growing demand for AI computing power. Traditionally, such centers are large warehouses full of powerful computers that process and store data. Musk aerospace firm claims processing needs due to the expanding use of AI are already outpacing terrestrial capabilities. It would increase the number of SpaceX satellites in orbit drastically. Its existing Starlink network of nearly 10,000 satellites has already been accused of creating congestion in space, which Musk denies. The revitalized ecological environment in the Hotan prefecture of the northwest China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region increasingly entices a greater number of grey cranes to winter there, with a flourishing habitat not only providing a safe haven for those majestic birds, but also underscoring the successful efforts in preserving local ecosystems. Thousands of grey cranes gathered along the banks of the Moyu River, with some foraging in the shallows while others soaring gracefully through the sky, tracing beautiful arcs above the river. The clear calls echoed through the valleys, infusing the tranquil winter scene with vibrancy. In recent years, local authorities have consistently advanced ecological initiatives such as wetland restoration, protective forest development, and effective water management systems. These efforts have successfully established a safe and comfortable habitat for the migratory birds, resulting in a growing population of grey cranes wintering in the region. Now time for sports update. Ireland defeated Thailand by 62 runs in a Super 6 match of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup Global Qualifier held today at Tribhuvan University Cricket Ground in Nepal. Batting first, Ireland posted 121 for 8 in 20 overs with notable contributions from Gabby Lewis and both Amy Hunter and Orla Pendergast. Thailand struggled to chase the target, scoring only 59 runs in 6.1 overs, with captain Narumol Chaiwai top scoring 22 and Nanapat Koncharan contributing 15. Ireland's bowlers dominated, with Arlene Kelly taking 4 wickets and Lara McBride claiming 3. Having already secured qualification for the World Cup, Ireland's victory reinforced their strong position in the tournament. In Nepal's premier football competition, the Anfa National League, Planning Boys United secured a 3-0 victory over Kakri Bihar Youth Club today. This marks their third win in the ongoing tournament, elevating them to 5th place in the standings with 10 points from 5 matches. Kakri Bihar, on the other hand, remains at the bottom of the table, having suffered 5 consecutive losses. Football is a growing sport in Nepal, and the National League continues to attract attention as clubs across the country compete for supremacy. The win boosts Planning Boys United's chances of advancing in the tournament. Carlos Alcaraz has made history by defeating Novak Djokovic 2-6, 6-2, 6-3, 7-5 in the men's final at the Australian Open. The world number 1 at just 22 years old became the youngest man to compete at career Grand Slam, a feat that has eluded many legends of the sport. Alcaraz's victory marks his 7th Grand Slam title, having previously claimed the French Open and US Open in 2022, as well as 2 Wimbledon titles. Djokovic, the Serbian tennis icon, was aiming to break a standalone record by claiming his 25th major singles title, but fell short in a thrilling final. This victory solidifies Alcaraz's status as one of the brightest stars in tennis today, with a promising future ahead. Early on Saturday, Elena Rybakina beat the 2 top-ranked players in the world to win the Australian Open and show that her quiet ruthlessness can propel her to number 1 and more Grand Slam glory. Rybakina, after battling through momentum swings and intense pressure to secure victory, said the match was a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, I'm very proud to represent Kazakhstan, and it's been a long time, and it was a tough decision, an important decision for me because I was a junior, and I had to really decide what way I take, either side in US. I had some good offers, and either try to stay professional. I'm really glad that Kazakhstan believed in me and supported me.
And before we say goodbye, let's have a look at our top stories once again. Nepal government issues new guidelines to mitigate risk of Nipah virus transmission following reported case in India. Nepal's Election Commission confirms printing of over 28.3 million ballot papers for March 5 elections towards proportional representation. Gold prices soar and plunge, leaving Nepal's bullion market in turmoil. India's budget for next fiscal year focuses on nurturing rural growth and high-speed rail expansion, allocates 8 billion rupees grant to Nepal. Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei issues a stark warning of a regional war to US if military action launched. And Carlos Alcaraz makes history by defeating Novak Djokovic 2-6, 6-2, 6-3, 7-5 in the men's final at the Australian Open. That's all for the moment here on NTV World Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us for our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. I'm Vishata Pandari. Have a great evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World. Facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries, where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Music, dance, food, art and devotion are the lifeblood of Newar culture, an ancient civilization rooted in the Kathmandu Valley of Nepal. With lively festivals nearly every fortnight, the Newars celebrate life through a rich tapestry of traditions known as Jatra.
After around 7 hours drive from federal capital Kathmandu comes Dhunche Bazar, the district headquarters of Rashwa. Further ahead from Dhunche, demographically and ethnic mix, we reach Kerung custom point along Nepal-China border. However, we are headed to another destination. We are going to Gosai Kunda, a beautiful pilgrimage situated 4,380 meters above the sea level, and a perfect mix of adventure and spiritualism. Our trek begins from this very place. With excitement and energy alike, our journey to Gosai Kunda starts from Dhunche Bazar. This is a famous religious tourism site, especially twice a year on Janai Purnima and Ganga Dasara fair in Jesta. thousands of devotees throng this holy place. The first 1 hour of the trek up to Ghattekhola is largely straight. This is where pilgrims take a tea break and some rest to prepare themselves for the uphill walk. There's a mini Gosai Kunda here as well. Uphill walk through the pine forest and natural diversity continues as we approach few lodges on the way. After nearly about 2 hours of trek, we reach Deurali. Another resting place for pilgrims and trekkers. Sip of tea in this freezing weather is a luxury these small hotels offer. This is also a well-known viewpoint to see the southern districts. The tharpus or shelters built and preserved by the Gosai Kunda Area Development Committee are found almost everywhere on the way. With more excitement than fatigue, the journey continues from Deurali. It's still a long way and it's difficult to reach our destination today itself. Fatigue is visible on the faces of these travelers. In an hour or so, we reach Dingsa. This is a junction of Gosai Kunda with another route mixing here. Tharpus and light snacks are available here as well. The trail, though uphill, is not very difficult. The natural beauty of the area, mild weather, and many travelers make the arduous journey much easier. Chandanbari is the next place after about an hour's walk. This is a small but beautiful hamlet for tourists. Cozy but clean and hygienic hotels are found here. Many tourists travel up to Chandanbari even at times other than the two famous religious fairs take place. The oldest yak cheese production factory of Dairy Development Corporation is here. Even the trekkers take a test of the famous yak cheese produced in Chandanbari. The yak herds also make the environment exciting. Many travelers who cannot bear the fatigue anymore take overnight stop here and head to Gosaikunda the next morning. The place is also known as Singh Monastery, named after the ancient monument itself. The uphill trek continues from Chandanbari for another 2 hours up to Cholangpati. This place, renowned for yak farming and traders, is another stop on the way. Though few tourists are also seen here, yak farmers often gather in monsoon season here. The typical Himalayan lifestyle, cylindrical pine trees and the cold weather greet the travelers. Many temporary structures are set up by local administration, Nepal Army, police among others, along the way during the annual Gosaikunda fair to provide free health care and first aid services to travelers. After another 2 hours walk, we reach the Lodi Bina area. Those who can walk faster take overnight stop at this place that has plenty of hotels. This is the perfect place to enjoy nature and its beauty. The view of mountain peaks including Ganesh, Manasalu, Langtang and some across the border in China and Dhunche Bazaar is a treat to the eyes. The idol of Lord Buddha greets trekkers at this place. The trail also gets a bit less difficult with almost no more uphill walk. Legend has it that the place got its name Loribina, meaning free of walking sticks, as travelers discard their walking stick at the end of the uphill climb here. The same walking stick is again brought back while returning from the pilgrimage. Another 2 hours facile walk takes us to Ganesh Gaura. From where the revered Vairav and Saraswati Kunda or lakes become visible. The very sight of the holy water of the ponds rejuvenates every traveler. One of the specialities of Ganesh Kunda is the idol of Lord Ganesh and the tailless mice or the moles, known as the ride of Lord Ganesh, are seen roaming freely. Gosai Kunda is just 15 minutes walk from this place. The pond, measuring 4 square kilometers in width and 19.2 meters in depth, is the common holy site for both Hindus and Buddhists. Devotees offer prayers at the temple after taking a holy dip in the freezing water of the pond. Twice a year during Janai Purnima and Dasarma fairs, Hindu and Buddhist devotees throng the holy site. The pond is the origin of the mighty Trisuli river. A little further is the Trishul Dhara, or a fountain with its own anecdote. Legend has it that Lord Shiva, after drinking the Kalkut poison, held it in his neck. After holding the poison in his neck, Lord Shiva started roaming around in immense pain and thirst. The fountain was formed here when Lord Shiva struck his trident to quench his thirst. The fountain is the source of water for the ponds here. Lord Shiva is believed to have laid flat on the ground here after drinking the water. As per the legend, this happened on the day of Janai Purnima. Thus comes the popular belief that Lord Shiva still visits this place on the day of Janai Purnima along with other deities. The river Trishuli also got its name as it originated from the place where the Lord had struck with his Trisul, or the trident. Devotees throng this place during Janai Purnima. The atmosphere is lightened by various pageantries, including cultural shows during the fair. A few hotels can be found here for those who want to make an overnight stop. However, many try to avoid staying here due to fears of altitude sickness. Nevertheless, medical camps are adequately set up for emergencies during the fair. Special paid horse ride service is also available for those who can't walk. There are 3 different routes to reach Gosaikunda. One is the Kathmandu Chisapani Ghopte Suryakunda route. Another route is via Rasua's Langtang Tulu Safru Gosaikunda. And of course, the route via Dhonche of Rasua, which we traveled, is probably the shortest and the easiest of them all. This route is 3 to 4 days walk from Dhonche, depending on the individual's speed. Travelers can choose 2 different routes to and fro Gosaikunda to spice up their adventure. The revered Gosaikunda at 4,380 meters above the sea level in Gosaikunda Rural Municipality of Rasua District and inside Langtang National Park is a must-go destination for any avid traveler. Ask anyone who has been there. It is indeed a lifetime experience.
What is the power of music that political narratives don't?
The real music comes between the notes. It's the silence. I don't think you can change the country. It's not a... I think it's good to start with your own home, you know, your own room. Can you do some changes in your own room? So I'm working in my own room.
Fixing your internet.
So you can play the same note. For example, just give you a little bit of an example, Sudan. of this. Sounds very Nepali.
Right.
And it could be on the mountain. But if I did.
That's the signature of Manoj Newana. Let's talk about the Grammy moment. What was it like?
Oh my God. Well, you know, it was 2020. It was blessings. I've been very blessed to also to collaborate with some Westerner musicians. One of them was Deva Pramal and Miten. They were, you know, Miten and Deva, they were very inspired by Eastern philosophy. Also, actually, they were very inspired by Osho's world. And through that, they got to learn a lot about the mantras and the beauty of what our music can bring to the people. And I went to Los Angeles to be there with 10,000 people in the Staple Arena. It was amazing. I wore a Nepali dress and put instead of kukri, I put my bansuri. Wow. It was proudly. I felt like, oh great, thank you.
Namaste and welcome to this special dialogue program marking the 41st anniversary of your very own Nepal television. I'm Shivani Thapa-Bosnet with this special edition. Today, in this digital age, voice is no longer scarce. Attention is. Everyone speaks, but fewer are heard, and even fewer still are trusted. For countries like Nepal, the question is no longer whether it has a voice, but how the voice is placed, protected, and projected in the global arena without losing its local flavor or local meaning. Tonight, in this special program, our Anniversary Day special, NTV World brings together three very, very important perspectives. We bring to you an academic insight, we bring to you a voice of global corporate communication expert, and a frontline journalist, to whom we ask, what does credible global voice look like today, and what should Nepal do differently? Allow me to welcome my guest to the show. Our first guest is Dr. Arun Gupta, a scholar as well as a film director whose work basically has been in reshaping South Asian narratives through research, writing, and even filmmaking. We're joined in by Ms. Ruchi Pandey, who's founder of Arita PR, whose work has been very, very pivotal and crucial in helping Nepali institutions communicate clearly, credibly, and globally. And joining us live via WhatsApp is Ms. Namrata Sharma, who's a senior journalist, also an observer of geopolitics, governance and South, the media regulations. Welcome to all our guests to the studios of Nepal Television.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sparing your very valuable time. So the discussion today is all about making relevance in the global shifting media scape. And let's dive into the conversation, and let's begin with the soul of this conversation for which we are here, the necessity of a global voice. Let me turn to Dr. Gupta first. Dr. Gupta, in this age of technology and social media, the global public sphere is certainly shifting. The digital age is really taking over the usual spheres that we enjoyed as public spheres, right? So in a world where everyone has a voice, who gets heard and whose knowledge is sidelined?
I'm basically a theorist. I conceptualize things. I don't only focus on facts, but I explain them. I engage into kind of configuration of explanations, analysis. So I always say that there are multiple things which have happened in Nepal. For instance, this 2006-8 Maoist insurgency, Genji revolutions, and many such incidents which have not been heard very prominently in global platform. One particular lack about how do we speak is not only explaining the events of what happened during insurgencies, during uprisings. Let me give you one more example. Sometimes many scholars, liberal scholars, say that in Nepal or in Pakistan or in Bangladesh there are revolutions and uprisings for democratic purpose, but they have not been theorized. If you do not theorize it, you cannot globalize it. So when you want your ideas and events to be heard in a global platform, you need to conceptualize them and explain them, analyze them, and then put in global platform. Because whether it is a matter of art and literature, whether it is a matter of events happening in Nepal, you have to put them into a very solid theoretical plate.
So where exactly have we failed in what you just said right now? Is it at the source? Is it the media? Or is it on the demand side?
I have been writing about Nepali art and culture. I have been writing about goddess culture in Nepal. And instead of just narrating what are they, how I have theorized in my documentaries or in my books is that I have developed ideas of how goddess culture is not only superstition, but they are also matters of ecological, gender consciousness, epistemic awareness. So you tend to take events and facts and then explain them so that they have some kind of aesthetic or philosophical renderings. That's why I say that one of the professors from India, Professor Ashish Nandi, told me once visiting Nepal that Nepali politics, Maoist politics or non-Maoist politics, have participated in democratic process. It is one of the rare examples in global political scenario of last 50-60 years. But this particular process of Nepal or Nepali politics participating in democratic process has not been theorized. If you cannot theorize, Arun, he told me, you cannot globalize. That's why whatever is happening, like historians in Nepal, I distinguish between historians and sociologists and anthropologists. Sociologists and anthropologists, they are very analytical, they are very dialectical, but historians means arguably, historians are mainly more narrative. They don't tend to theorize. They are very chronological. They are very event oriented. But there are wonderful scholars in the field of sociology and anthropology and political discourse that they can analyze them. And once you analyze them, then it is heard through university discourses, it is heard through media discourses. So it gets into permanence. Otherwise, events disappear.
Right. So, is there a risk of epistemic injustice, Dr. Gupta, when local knowledge is excluded from, global discourse?
Haitian revolution in the 18th century, in Haiti, Haitian revolution in the 18th century produced democratic ideals, not only abolishment of slavery. It discussed about what is equality, what is equity, what is reasoning, what is wisdom. And Europe, that was the local knowledge in Haiti. When we hear about Haiti nowadays, we think that Haiti is a location of gangsters. But that Haiti created such a wonderful democratic ideals that it translated or it communicated to European ideals of the 18th century age of science and reason. There was another Native American statesman, Kondiorong. Kondiorong was a Native American chief in Canada. When French army officer went and met him, then he found that he has tremendous knowledge to contribute to European science, European reasoning, European democracy. And Kondiorong says contribution, though it is ignored, but people say, experts say that Kondiorong's contribution is one of the major factors in developing what Europe is now as a location of science and logic and location of scientific methodology. So local knowledge always, I can give you multiple examples. The way Malaysia, during the colonial time fought against the Western imperialistic forces, their resistance became exemplary to talk about or to theorize what resistance should be. Resistance is not only about holding arms and killing people. Resistance is very much a sophisticated mode of opposing the authority. So local and global always interact in such a way, but when you talk about this global influence into the local, not only local influence into the global, but the global influence into the local, then media, I suppose, is one of the most determining factors. What is happening in international media is determining how we behave in media culture in Nepal or South Asia.
Let me then now switch to Ruchiji. Ruchiji, you've been in a wider niche for a long time now. So could you give me your observation as to whether media is becoming the platform for global brands to navigate political sensitivities like war, conflict, and even social unrest?
Thank you, Shivani ji. We are traditionally or now, media has always been that bridge that is connecting power with the public, right? It's showcasing stories, whether of larger organizations or brands or individuals, and helping it connect with the public, right? But today, what has changed drastically, as you earlier pointed out, was everybody can be media. Everybody has the power of voice and opinion, which, yes, is creating a large volume of media, but not necessarily good quality media, right? And in that lack of clarity, what's seeping in is reputational risks. So now global brands, they don't really have an option to sit on the sidelines and say, when and if a political sensitive issue surfaces, I'm going to take a stance on it. They have to proactively have a crisis management plan in place. They need to be thinking preemptively about, if so-and-so happens, this is what I'm going to say. This person is going to be my spokesperson. If not, that will be perceived as silence. And silence no longer is a point of neutrality, right? It's considered sort of, by being silent, you're taking a stance. You're choosing not to participate. And the public is starting to hold people and brands much more accountable for choosing to stay silent. So to address your question about our global brands leveraging media, it's no longer just the traditional media where it used to be a couple of broadcast channels, a couple of digital or print channels, but now they have to be actively putting themselves out there. Every person in the executive leadership of different organizations need to be putting themselves out there and making their values on their respective stance, as well as the organization level stance clear, so that if and when a politically led or politically sensitive issue arises, people are clear. Okay, I can trust you or I cannot trust you.
In this entire picture, Ruchiji, how do Nepali institutions maintain credibility and communicate globally? What do you see as the fundamental challenge?
I think it depends on the nature of the institution first, right? So today, I think every individual in themselves can be a brand, because I could have a social media account and collect a couple of followers and have that influence with them. So I'm a brand. Or it could be a company which decides, maybe I also have an individual voice. What does XYZ company in a food and beverage solution, how do they compare with their competitors, right? So depending on the size, depending on the sector, the most important thing that Nepali institutions can, and I see some traction here in terms of what they're doing, is choosing to be thought leaders in their areas of expertise, right? So if I'm a food and beverage company, I can go and talk about what it is like in terms of the whole supply chain in Nepal, and talk about that from the perspective of Nepal and say, this is how it's globally, but in Nepal, this is how it works. Same thing for if it's a business in the field of education, right? You start talking about why is the Nepali mindset when it comes to education and wanting to leave the country and go out and study somewhere else different from what it is in other markets. So it really depends on the institution, but I think when the leaders of the company are choosing to put themselves out there, as I mentioned earlier, through thought leadership, so whether they are writing bylines, whether they are going to LinkedIn and expressing their thoughts, others are saying something, they are not shy to opine on that. That is where we can start making slow but gradual shifts.
Right here, could you also give me your observations on how effective were the Nepali media, during the COVID-19 and some regional crises that have emerged recently, to effectively tell their story across to the other side of the world?
So first I want to preface this with whether it's Nepali media or global media. When something like COVID happens, there's fear, right? So any audience is not looking for just information. Everybody's giving information. What they're looking for is accurate information. So the onus now on the media is not just to share information, but share and verified information, right? So as we can all recall, there was a lot of noise in the social media channels then about should I get vaccines or not? This is even before the vaccines came out. Medical cures, like do this, drink this, and you'll be all fine with COVID, right? So during that, when the Nepali media paired with the doctors and said, this is reality, right? When they chose to go multilingual and went to specific local sectors and said, this is how it needs to be done. This is the risks. This is the challenge. So now they're not just sharing information, but putting it in the context of those hyper-local markets. That was a win. So does that always happen in terms of are we always doing it right? Yes, there's room to improve. But the beauty about a market like Nepal is we're already small. We don't have to worry so much about what others are thinking before we fix what's inside. Once we fix what's inside and we know these are the great messages about Nepal, global will gradually catch up.
Let's bring in Ms. Namrata Sharma right here. Ms. Sharma, you're joining in us from a very far off location. She's in Gujarat at the moment, joining us live on WhatsApp. Ms. Sharma, you bring a wealth of experience in the Nepali journalism sector and beyond as well. So how responsible do you think Nepali journalism is in shaping perceptions abroad?
Nepal media has really been made its mark, particularly in the local context within Nepal. If you look at the last couple of decades, what has happened, really is a series of corruption has been unearthed, uncovered in the media. Now, this kind of journalism is not very open in South Asian countries at the moment, even in our neighbor country, India, where I'm at the moment, which is supposed to be a beacon of democracy for all South Asians. So I think it would be an exaggeration to say that Nepali journalism has done its bit on uncovering what has happened behind the surface, and actually showing that corruption in Nepal is moving towards kleptocracy, which is not a small thing. Unfortunately, I think what we may have missed out, the Nepali media, is to take what is actually happening inside the country to the global scenario.
So given the interest as well, there is huge interest and curiosity to which the media has to rise and be able to cater to those interests. I believe that was the statement coming to her. Let's move ahead to the next segment of our discourse, where we talk about the digital space, or how technology and digital transformation, and then there is political polarization and global take is reshaping this niche, this media. We certainly would want to move to our scholar, who we seek to give your independent scholarly views on this particular shift. Dr. Gupta, media isn't what it used to be like even a decade ago, right? You've seen it, like from state controlled to algorithmically filtered. The journey has been very quick, and it's been the change has been very, very huge. So how is Nepal, or how do you think Nepal is navigating this transformation?
Nepal is influenced by global media behavior, particularly South Asian media behavior, and the influence of institutions of power, the authoritarian powers. They are, but to some extent Nepal is still not that much controlled by authority, institutions of power, as we see in Western media or South Asian media at large, because I feel that Nepal is, I would agree to Ms. Sharma's comments or analysis that Nepali media is doing well. It is doing well because the outside forces are not very much prominent in determining what should be the content of media. But by saying this, I also feel sometimes that Nepali media is very much focused on some kind of information deficiency. By information deficiency, I see that electoral politics, election, politicians as heroes or villains, these are the major subject matter of media. And then other issues, children's education, gender issues, pollution, climate change, animal rights, human rights, all these issues are like supplemented for Saturday issue or Saturday editions. For the whole week you have this political discourse, what is going to happen, and just for a week on Saturdays I call it a kind of information deficiency, and everything which society should take interest about art and literature, about education, about what is going to happen after election regarding pollution or climate change, they don't find space. They don't find space.
So in your view, it's more politically dominated?
Very dominant, supplemented. Other issues are supplemented. And that is one of the problems with the Nepali media, which is also a kind of influence of global trajectory of media. So that is what I feel, There are so many things to talk about colleges. There are so many things to talk about the aggression of youth. Why did Gen Z movement happen? What was the problem? But those kind of issues they get prominence only when they happen. And then this happened, that happened. These were the chronological events of Gen Z movement. So we are more focused on events and less focus on analysis of other things which might be important for
So we need to review our prioritization of stories that we disseminate. Said that, I'm a little curious, Dr. Gupta, if you're following the technological shift that is happening globally, not only in our niches. So because we are now, because today, whatever we disseminate is not necessarily limited to our borders or only our targeted audiences. The reach is like far beyond what, because it's just there, digitally available and accessible everywhere. So which technological change in your observation do you think is threatening to Nepali narratives?
I hear in higher education, I hear that there are some students, there are some researchers who are very comfortable with digital communication with AI, and there are some who already have declared that AI and digital communication are evils of society. So my argument is that digital communication and this influence of AI, we are within this system. Maybe after 50 years or after 40, 50 years, we will be able to see that whether AI has damaged or not. Since we are within the system, we must participate with AI and digital communication, technological communication, digital humanities. We must participate because we do not know whether they are good or bad. Like if you take example of Galileo, when Galileo produced his ideas, then there were people who said no, it is a demonic thing, and some said that no, it is challenging religious ideas. So after maybe 200 years, we came to know that Galileo did a wonderful thing. So why we are in a hurry to avoid these modes of highly technological modes of communication? Because we do not know what is going to happen. So as an academic, as a researcher, I welcome AI, despite the fact that AI and digital communication have tremendous amount of disadvantages also. So I'm not that kind of pessimist person that I already decide and I already give opinion that this particular wonderful gift which science and technology has given to us is damaging the youth. YouTube is not damaging the youth. How you control YouTube, that determines whether it is good or bad. Reels are not damaging the youth, but how you control them, that determines whether they are good or bad. So in my opinion, when you are within something, then you should not be making haste to decide that it is already bad. There are some scholars, sociologists and anthropologists and people from humanities who have been using AI and technological communication, and they have written a book called Disorientation with AI. They are within the system, they are using AI and then they can analyze. But for me, I do not know the technological nuances of algorithmic nuances of AI, but I am very much ready to say that AI is going to be bad, because I can give you one example that there are 3 or 4 students who are working with me in India. They have told me by email that we are against AI. They are doctoral students. Some of them have completed their thesis, but they have already joining a force to oppose AI. And I argue with them that how can you declare AI or digital communication, technological communication as evil without even using them for a month? So that is my position. and media media is digital communication. Media is not what it used to be, like you said, 30 years or 40 years ago. It's full of velocity. It is full of speed. It changes. Like I was reading a book called AI Revolutions in Medicine. Within 3 months, that book, forwarded by OpenAI's CEO Altman, that book became old within 3 or 4 months. So you have to either keep pace with this velocity of technological, as a media person, as an academic, as an expert from your discipline, you have to keep pace.
So beautifully said. A very, very beautiful perspective, Dr. Gupta, to put things so sensibly in place. This brings me to Ruchiji. Certainly from what he said, and looking at the velocity with which the world media is moving ahead, attention has become a currency globally at the moment. And if we fail to match pace with that velocity, I think that's where we lag, right? That's what Dr. Gupta just said. So you, having been a person and who leads an entity which is trying to bridge the gap between Nepal's mediascape and then the global front, where do you see this biggest gap in between the supply and demand, on the global market's demand and Nepal's supply side?
So more than the gaps, I actually see opportunities in that there's so many things that are yet to be tapped, right? So Dr. Gupta here said, we aren't really leveraging diverse section-focused narratives yet, right? In the same robustness as we are doing maybe politics, right? But if that changes, now we suddenly have, let's say, education-focused businesses to talk about, education-focused challenges to talk about. As political shift happens, how does that affect the education budget? On the same lens, industry-specific, right? More stories to share as success stories. Because it's very natural for us humans to gravitate towards negative news. And funnily, all of the headlines it's all about brutal things happening, most damaging expressions, right? It's all negativity, and we are drawn towards that. But when we start sharing the success stories, Nepal actually has so many success stories that could be catering to different parts of the global audience. So when Ms. Sharma was earlier talking about the curiosity around Nepal all of a sudden, if we were to capitalize on it, I would look at it almost like, who is the audience? It's not just one segment. So there are tourists who are looking to come to Nepal. What are the kind of stories that would be attractive to them? There are investors that we want to consider Nepal as a viable investment destination, right? There are people who are looking to come back, the diaspora. We don't want to scare them away. There's brilliant opportunities here, right? So depending on the audience, we need to figure out what are the stories and narratives and talk more positive. Because we live in a world where going viral is so good, but I believe there's no good virus. There's good bacteria, but virus is only bad. So why are we so, attached to the virality of things if we don't think about what is verifiable information, what is vital information that will bring about good socio-economic advancements in Nepal? And that is where I see a lot of opportunities. Let's streamline it based on the audience type and start to write or talk about things in the media channels that caters to these specific audience sets.
Dr. Gupta, let me turn to you. Trust is another currency of today's world, right? In democracies under strain, do you think media literacy is a civic duty?
Media, since it depends on digital communication and AI, media has also the risk of being, or not only risk, but media is a child. So if authoritarianism grooms them to communicate information for their interest, then media is done with. Like I cannot name those media institutions, but we can assume, we can understand what is going to happen, what has happened. I always think that the expectation from the media should be communicated in a reciprocality. Like expectation of the readers, expectations of the audience. This is what media literacy is. It is not that what media or Nepal television is producing is media literacy, but literacy also is the burden of those who are receiving the news, those who are reading, those who are viewing news. It's a kind of, a kind of combination of the two, the speaker and the listener, the addresser and the addressee. So I always feel that media has this ethical and moral responsibility. This is what I mean by media literacy. Ethical, there is a confusion between ethical and moral. The questions of ethics and questions of morality. Ethics is what is good for me, what is good for my country, what is good for my community. Moral is about what ought to be universally, globally, what ought to be not only good for myself but good for others. This is avoiding this confusion between this kind of misunderstanding between what is ethical and what is moral. So it is very important to understand that ethical leads to moral, but if media is only ethical, which Nepali media I do not find that it is ethical, this is my honest analysis, that Nepali media is more moral than ethical. Many of the global media I see that they are very ethical. They are thinking about, they talk about liberalism, they talk about freedom, but they talk about their countries only. That is the ethical stand. What should be for me? So they sound very good, but they are very nationalistic, they are very parochial, they are very limited to one culture and one nation. But maybe this will end within 5 years. This particular moral dimension of Nepali media will end within 2 or 3 years. But I am taken aback, and I am also convinced that Nepali media is not yet full of sound and fury like global media is becoming or has become.
That's certainly another discourse that we need to have if we should talk, stick to that discussion, Dr. Gupta. The very elements of the characters that Dr. Gupta just made, Ruchiji, is most often one of the fundamental characters of democracies under strain or volatile situations, right? But here we're talking about, taking us to the global front, and global audiences, as far as we know, they expect clarity and credibility, and most often they are quite impatient, right? So what role can media play? We're talking about Nepal now. What role can Nepali media play in shaping investor and consumer trust in volatile regions and during volatile times?
So I think I would look at it as a three-party situation right now, in the sense that there's the media, there's brands and organizations or political parties, part of the brands, then there's the consumers. Now, when you are sharing as a media a piece of information, either I have given you that information or you asked for that information and gathered it. That's possibly the only two ways to have objective journalism in place, right? Otherwise, it's misinformation. Where did you get it from? Yes, you could have verified it through a third party, and that's fine, but it's coming from somewhere. Now, by the time the consumer gets that information, it needs to be valid, it needs to be verified, it needs to be accurate. The moment we set ourselves to that standard of either somebody is giving me their information, which means I have control on the narrative, you are collecting it with all of the due diligence in place, you have control in narrative, problem solved. Consumer gets only correct media. The moment we start doing that at scale, suddenly when there are things like earthquakes happening or when there is massive unrest in the country, the diaspora or the migrant population that's out there is not just reading, oh, Nepal is an unsafe destination. They're looking at it with a lot more context, because now let's say the brands like those in hospitality or even the medical services companies or the aviation industry, right, who would have been impacted either by the unrest or the earthquakes, are also coming to the media and saying, this is our side of the story. Would you please cover it now? So now the consumer has the full picture. Simultaneously, like Dr. Gupta said, the onus is also on the consumer in terms of to ask, is every information I'm getting, because we are in such a hurry to forward it with all these channels, right? There's WhatsApp, Facebook, we are ready to believe anything that's thrown to our face. We are sharing it without realizing that we could be partaking in the process of damaging misinformation, right? We are sharing misinformation. So that part should be with the consumers, where a lot of media literacy could help them. And in markets like Nepal, when we are sharing the information, maybe initially, because we're not challenging the audience enough perhaps to say, how did you get this piece of information, right? Is this factual or not? So in that process, maybe there is a chance to educate. Media could be an educating partner by saying, this is the piece of news, this is how it would impact so and so piece of people, here is our source of information. So now you've closed the loop on it, no questions left. And once we start doing that, we have better, organization-focused stories, industrial stories, political stories, sports, education, healthcare stories. And now the global world sees it as, oh, investment ready. Oh, this is a much more mature investment climate that I would have thought. I never knew about this kind of sector. I did not know about the robust tech sector. Like every day today, I work with such amazing technology companies building world-class solutions right here from Nepal. And sometimes I question them, really? It's all built here? And they say, yeah. And I go and meet the team. It's fascinating to be able to showcase all of those stories. Obviously, it's not the onus of one channel, but collectively, if the media chooses to do that, oh my God, there's so many positive stories to be shared, and the consumers feel happy, they feel proud, there's not that unrest, they don't want to leave and immediately go somewhere after college. They'll see, okay, potentially I could also do something. So I hope that addresses the question.
Beautifully, most beautifully, in fact. Ms. Namrata Sharma could not stay longer because of time limitations, but we're very, very much thankful to her for joining us. Even remotely, she could spare some very important, limited, but could share some very, very important insights. Coming towards the very, very, concluding part of this show, even I did not expect, having to work in such a chaotic and environment that's full of noise. News is always like that, right? I was also not expecting so much optimism to ooze from this panel, but it's really good to know that the fraternity, the people around us feel the need for so many stories to be covered, and there's so much optimistic and beautiful stories that the world needs to know from Nepal, right? Having said that, as we head towards wrapping up, just two-liners from each of you. If you have any message for the communicators, your CTA or your call to action to communicators in this very digital and divided world. Mr. Gupta first.
If I give a kind of wrap-up comment, I always expect from two major locations which are going to determine and which have determined what society is going to be. One is university, another is media. So I always tell in my classroom discussions that media or university must have the power to refuse the temptations from institutions of power. They have to refuse whatever temptations. Do I have a time for one very good anecdote, one short story? You can edit it, but one good story of refusal was, it's from a myth. That's why I use anecdotes. One day, god of alphabet, god of media, thought, Egyptian god of alphabet, god of communication, thought, like Saraswati, came to the court of Egyptian king Thamus, and he declared that I have come here with a wonderful gift, a gift of communication. Then Thamus, the king, said, whether your gift is good or bad, I will decide who is going to receive it. Like children are good or bad, parents are not going to decide, but the neighbors decide. And the god was little bit taken aback. He was threatened. Then he said, but still I am giving you tools of communication, wonderful tools of communication. And that will change the course of your history. You will be able to write, you will be able to communicate. Your culture is oral, now it will be written. So he was the primordial god of, in some sense, media. So then the king said, no, I refuse. It was a very tempting offer. They said, why do you refuse? I am giving you the tools of communication. I am giving you writing, alphabet. He said, no, writing will be the enemy of memory, so I refuse your gift. That power of refusal, that temptation, when the god comes and then gives some gift, the king has the power to refuse. That means that refusal always means the way there are so many temptations from corporate agencies, from governments, from other powerful institutions, that media has to learn to refuse. This is what I want to always tell about powerful institutions like media.
A very powerful statement, that is.
Oh, what a wonderful story.
Right. Tiruchi ji, your CTA.
So I think I would center that around trust. And the earlier thought process that I shared was the urgency or the pull to be viral or be sensational and have that one moment in history often is done at the expense of trust, because you're doing it, it's quick, it's quick validation, but in the long run, when that trust erodes, what it's eroding or what it's being done at is at the cost of society, right? Because one bad headline or one good sensational headline, we don't know how it's affecting different parts of the society, different sectors, different industries, different workforces, different age demographics, right? So I would again go back to choose vitality or vital information or verifiable information over being viral. So I would probably say that's my call to action.
We couldn't have ended it any better. Powerful statements from the both of you. Thank you so much for sparing your time.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Most importantly, for this very incisive conversation. And we hope we'll have time and room for many more of such very optimistic and energizing conversations in the days ahead. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Shivani ji. And thank you to the NTV.
Thank you for inviting me.
From what we read, Nepal's voice certainly exists. Rather, from what I read from our members in this very important panel, that there are so many beautiful and good stories about Nepal that the world needs to know. Just that, we need to gather a few things: ethics, projection, and of course accountability. Thank you so much for joining us in this very milestone conversation marking our 41st anniversary. Do stay tuned. Thank you for all the love and support that you've been showering us in our journey.
बाबु गुरुङको पारिवारिक पृष्ठभूमि सामान्य छ। मुस्ताङको फरक र सांस्कृतिक जीवनशैलीमा हुर्किएका उनको बाल्यकाल सामान्य बित्यो।
हामी यही आँगनमा खेलेर हुर्क्यौँ अनि हामी गुम्बोबाट फर्केर आउँदा पनि यही ढोका तरेर यहाँबाट आमाले बोलाउँथ्यो। त्यस्तै त्यो बाल्यकाल यस्तै गर्दै बित्नु भएको थियो। अनि यही ढोकाको अगाडि अघि म हिँडेको बाटोमै हाम्रो आमाको साथीहरू चाहिँ दिउँसोको 1-2 बजे पछि त्यहीँ बस्नुहुन्थ्यो। त्यो गरेर कुरा गर्दै बस्नु। उहाँहरूले चाहिँ अनि मेरो नाम बाबु राख्नु भएको।
उनको परिवार उनलाई कुनै गुम्बाको लामा बनाउन चाहन्थ्यो, तर उनको रुचि अन्तै थियो।
पहिले चाहिँ मुस्ताङ राजाको चाहिँ नेम अनुसार चाहिँ ठुलो छोरालाई चाहिँ घर हेर्नुपर्ने र अनि महिला छोराले चाहिँ गुम्बा जानुपर्ने नियम भएको कारणले चाहिँ म लामा मेरो फ्यामिलीले चाहिँ लामामा पठाउनु भएको। म 20 वर्ष लामा बसेँ। त्यसपछि चाहिँ मेरो इन्ट्रेस्ट चाहिँ कल्चर र वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रतिको त्यो रिलेसनको बारेमा भयो। अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ मैले सिटिजन साइन्टिस्टको रूपमा आफ्नो काम त्यो स्टडीहरू आफै गर्दै गएँ।
मुस्ताङको यो सौन्दर्य र भविष्यको लागि आफ्नो तर्फबाट केही गर्ने सोच भएका बाबु आफ्नो पथमा जति अडिग छन् त्यति नै सन्तुष्ट पनि। जो अहिले रात दिन यसरी हिम चितुवाको खोज र संरक्षणमा लागिरहन्छन् र उनी संसारलाई मुस्ताङ चिनाउने ट्रेकिङ गाइड पनि हुन्।
एकचोटि मैले स्नो लेपर्ड भेट्दा मैले 12 घण्टा सँगै बिताएको थिएँ। 12 घण्टा सँगै बिताएको थिएँ। ऊ पारी डाँडामा बस्यो, म यता वारी डाँडामा बसेर चाहिँ यसै हेड एन्ड सिक खेलेको जस्तै भएर बसिरहेको थियो। ऊ पनि सुतिरहेको थियो। म पनि आफ्नै क्यामेरा छेउमा राखेर चाहिँ कहिले फोटो खिच्न मन लागेको फोटो खिच्यो। त्यसपछि चाहिँ उसलाई हेरिरहेर चाहिँ त्यो गरी उसको हेबिटहरू चाहिँ चिनिरहेको भन्छ। त्यो इन्सिडेन्टहरू चाहिँ मलाई बेस्ट लाग्छ।
पहिला हिमचित छिर्छ भने त ऊ फोटो हुन नपाएर नि किनलो क्यामेरा हुन नपाएर गाह्रो भयो। अनि उसको दाइ चाहिँ विदेश गयो। उसलाई धोका गाँथे उसलाई क्यामेरा पठायो। अनि उसले खिच्यो। अनि आमा त जहाँ गयो भने तिमी जहाँ गयो भने नडाँटो, हामी साथीसित मिलाएर बसा, अनि काम गऱ्यो भने राम्रो हुन्छ। यिनीहरूको बुवाको काम राम्रो भएको छ बाबु। अनि म अलि ढिलो छ, बच्चाहरूले धोका दिँदैन। यिनी हामी धोका बच्चाहरू त नदुखे बुवाले उर्कायो। आमाले पनि धोका गरेन, बच्चाले पनि धोका गरेन। बुवा राम्रो भएर अनि अलि बाँकी नभयो।
नेपालको गण्डकी प्रदेशमा पर्ने मुस्ताङ जिल्ला चीनसँग जोडिएको ठाउँ हो। यो सरदर 4023 मिटर उचाइमा छ। ठूला ठूला रुख बिरुवा विहीन पहाडहरू र यहाँको फरक संस्कृति नै मुस्ताङका विशेषता हुन्। बाबु गुरुङ यही मुस्ताङका छोरा हुन्, जसले मुस्ताङमा आफ्नो र मुस्ताङको भविष्य उज्यालो देखेका छन्।
मुस्ताङको एउटा मेन फेसेस भनेको के हो भनेको युवाहरू विदेशी नै मेन प्रब्लम, किनकि म जस्तो अहिले यङ केटाहरूले चाहिँ यता बस्नै उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ गाह्रो मान्छ, किनकि उनीहरूले चाहिँ यता कुनै त्यो नै छैन, रोजगारी नै छैन। तर मलाई विश्वास छ यो वाइल्ड लाइफलाई चाहिँ यो मुस्ताङमा चाहिँ विन्टरको 1 महिना भए पनि उनीहरूले रोजगारी दिन्छ। त्यो रोजगारी पनि त्यति त्यो नभइकन उनीहरूले चाहिँ सिक्न पाउनेदेखि लिएर उनीहरूले रोजगारी दिन्छ भन्ने मलाई विश्वास छ। अनि यो हुन्छ, तर म गरेरै छोड्छु भन्ने मेरो अब डिटर्मिनेसन जस्तै म गरिरहेको छु।
मुस्ताङ संसारभरिका पर्यटकको गन्तव्य बन्दै गएको छ, जसको एक उदाहरण यी विदेशी नागरिक।
I'm really happy to be here, and me and my wife, we travel a lot, and normally we decide to go to countries where we can combine nature, culture, people, and I like to take photographs. It's my hobby, and therefore for me is this destination perfect.
चौधौं शताब्दीमा बनेको ऐतिहासिक लोमान्ताङ दरबार र यसका भग्नावशेषहरू। च्याम्पो, आनीझुमा लगायत पुराना ऐतिहासिक गुम्बाहरू। प्रसिद्ध मुक्तिनाथ मन्दिर, पितृको श्राद्ध गर्ने कालीगण्डकीको तीरमा रहेको कागबेनी, मौलिक मार्फा गाउँ, संसारलाई लोभ्याउने कलात्मक पहाडहरू, यहाँको अद्वितीय मौलिक संस्कार र संस्कृति, शान्त र मौलिक जीवनशैली हो, यिनै हुन् मुस्ताङका परिचय। तिब्बतको नजिकै हुनाले यहाँ प्राय तिब्बती संस्कृति मनाइन्छ। भाषा पनि तिब्बती नै बोलिन्छ। बौद्ध धर्म यहाँको मुख्य धर्म हो। लोमान्ताङ उपत्यका यहाँको सदरमुकाम र सबैभन्दा ठूलो बस्ती भएको ठाउँ हो, जुन एउटा पर्खालले घेरिएको छ। यहाँ केही समय अघिसम्म मुस्ताङी राजाको आफ्नै शासन, नियम र कानून चल्थे। हाल त्यो शासन नभए पनि यहाँका राजा र राज संस्थालाई मुस्ताङीहरू निकै श्रद्धा गर्छन्। उत्पादनको हिसाबले मुस्ताङ स्याउको लागि प्रसिद्ध छ। मुस्ताङ पुग्न काठमाडौँबाट कास्की जिल्लाको पोखरा पुग्नुपर्छ। सुन्दर नगरी पोखराबाट हवाई जहाजमा सदरमुकाम जोमसोमसम्म पुगेर त्यहाँबाट मोटर यात्रा तय गरेर पनि लोमान्ताङ पुग्न सकिन्छ। यसरी जाँदा पोखरादेखि जोमसोमसम्म हवाई जहाजमा 18 मिनेट लाग्छ अनि जोमसोमदेखि लोमान्ताङसम्म मोटरमा करिब 6 घण्टा लाग्छ। पोखराबाट सिधै मोटरमा लोमान्ताङ जान पनि सकिन्छ। यसरी जाँदा करिब 12 घण्टा लाग्छ।
What is the power of music that political narratives don't?
The real music comes between the notes. It's the silence. I don't think you can change the country. It's not a. I think it's good to start with your own home. You know, your own room. Can you do some changes in your own room? So I'm working in my own room.
Fixing your internet.
So you can play the same note. For example, just give you a little bit of an example, Sudan, of this. Sounds very Nepali.
Right.
And it could be on the mountain. But if I did...
That's the signature of Manoj Newana. Let's talk about the Grammy moment. What was it like?
Oh my God. Well, you know, it was 2020. It was blessings. I've been very blessed to also to collaborate with some Westerner musicians. One of them was Deva Pramal and Miten. They were, you know, Miten and Deva, they were very inspired by Eastern philosophy. Also, actually, they were very inspired by Osho's world. And through that, they got to learn a lot about the mantras and the beauty of what our music can bring to the people. And I went to Los Angeles to be there with 10,000 people in the Staple Arena. It was amazing. I wore a Nepali dress and put instead of kukri, I put my bansuri.
Wow.
It was proudly. I felt like, oh great, thank you.
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has presented annual budget for 2026-27 announcing higher infrastructure spending and measures to support domestic manufacturing amid rising global uncertainties. Addressing the House, Finance Minister Sitharaman announced the setting up of 3 new chemical parks across the country to boost domestic manufacturing and cut import dependence. Sitharaman also declared a sharp increase in capital expenditure, raising the target to 1.22 trillion for new fiscal year, up from 1.12 trillion in the current fiscal year.
Public capital expenditure has increased manifold from 2 lakh crore in 2014-15 to an allocation of 11.2 lakh crore in BE 25-26. In this coming year, that is financial year 2026-27, I propose to increase it to 12.2 lakh crores to continue the momentum. In order to promote environmentally sustainable passenger systems, we will develop 7 high-speed rail corridors between cities as growth connectors, namely Mumbai to Pune, Pune to Hyderabad, Hyderabad to Bengaluru, Hyderabad to Chennai, Chennai to Bengaluru, Delhi to Varanasi, Varanasi to Siliguri.
India is expected to close this financial year with 7.4% gross domestic product GDP growth, according to the country's economic survey. But economic expansion will slow slightly next year as US President Donald Trump's 50% tariffs on Indian exporters start taking a greater toll. The budget has laid a stronger emphasis on fiscal restraint, targeting a lower deficit for the upcoming financial year. The fiscal deficit is the gap between the government's total expenditure and its total revenue. The Indian Finance Minister also unveiled plans to develop 7 high-speed rail corridors connecting key cities across the country. The Indian government has proposed to scale up manufacturing in 7 strategic sectors, including semiconductors, data centers, textiles, and rare earths, amid slowing private investments and a flight of foreign capital from India. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei says that if the US attacks Iran, it would become a regional conflict, state media reported on Sunday, amid heightened tensions between Washington and Tehran. Speaking in a televised address broadcast on state media, Khamenei underscored Tehran's readiness to respond forcefully to any perceived aggression. Khamenei also likened the recent protests to a coup, saying that the goal of the sedition is to attack the centers that govern the country. The US has built up its naval presence in the Middle East after President Donald Trump repeatedly threatened Iran with intervention if it did not agree to a nuclear deal or fail to stop killing protesters. A diplomatic solution remains on the cards, with Tehran saying it is ready for fair negotiations that do not seek to curtail its defensive capabilities. The protest, which started in late December over economic hardships but morphed into the most acute political challenge to the Islamic Republic since its establishment in 1979, have now abated after repression. Official numbers put the unrest-related death toll at 3,117, while the US-based HRANA rights group says it had so far verified the death of 6,713 people. The U.S. State Department has reiterated that its deployments are defensive in nature, aimed at protecting personnel and allies in the region. Soldiers in Ukraine's southern Zaporizhzhia region continue running assault drills between deployments, honing their skills on the front lines, even as concerns back home weigh heavily on their minds. For many, the state of Ukraine's energy system, repeatedly targeted by Russian strikes, is a source of constant worry. The Ukrainian electricity grid has been severely damaged over the past 4 years by sustained and targeted bombardments, leaving millions vulnerable to outages during both winter and summer months. The attacks are said to be a part of a broader strategy to undermine Ukrainian resilience, forcing communities to cope with freezing winter temperatures while essential services falter. Despite the psychological strain caused by concern for both family and civilians, Ukrainian forces continue rigorous training exercises in Zaporizhzhia, balancing operational readiness with the emotional toll of knowing that their country's power supply remains under constant threat. Humanitarian agencies have warned that repeated attacks on energy infrastructure endanger hospitals, water systems, and the broader civilian population, highlighting the critical link between military defense and civilian survival in the ongoing conflict. South Asia's largest and most focused international boat and marine show has opened at Port City, Colombo, positioning Sri Lanka as an emerging hub for the regional maritime industry. The Sri Lanka 2026 International Boat and Marine Show brings together global and local stakeholders to show the country's strength in recreational boating, marine tourism, boat building, and a range of related services targeting both export and domestic markets. Organizers say the exhibition highlights Sri Lanka's growing capacity in high-quality boat manufacturing and marine services sectors seen as key drivers of foreign exchange and blue economy development. Beyond the trade displays, the event was designed to attract younger generations to the maritime sector. A series of water sports events including wakeboarding, water skiing, jet ski racing, windsurfing, catamaran, and dinghy racing were held alongside interactive try-a-boat sessions conducted by sailing clubs. Visitors also experience Sri Lanka's coastal heritage through cultural performances linked to the sea, marine tourism promotions, ocean academy educational initiatives, and special events for school children under the Sun and Sand Festival banner. Argentina's government has declared an emergency in Patagonia, where wildfires have ripped through vast tracts of forest since the start of the southern hemisphere's summer. At least 45,000 hectares of forest, an area roughly the size of San Francisco, have gone up in smoke since mid-January. Windy conditions and extremely dry vegetation continue to fuel the blazes, making containment difficult. Environmental experts warn that the fires not only destroy habitats and biodiversity, but also contribute to carbon emissions, intensifying the effects of climate change. With temperatures in the region expected to remain higher, officials say the emergency measures will remain in effect while additional resources are mobilized to combat the ongoing blazes and support affected communities. A sea of color lights up Malaysia's landmark Batu Caves outside the capital as hundreds of thousands of Hindu devotees gather to celebrate Thaipusam, one of the religion's most revered festivals. The festival, which honors Lord Murugan, is marked by elaborate rituals including body piercings, ceremonial offerings, and long pilgrimages. The festival, which honors Lord Murugan, is marked by elaborate rituals and long pilgrimages up to the 272-step staircase to the cave's temple. Participants carry kawadi, ornate structures balanced on their shoulders or hooked to the skin with skewers, and perform acts of devotion to seek blessings or give thanks for answered prayers. Officials say security and health measures are in place to manage the massive crowds, which include both local devotees and international visitors. The festival draws attention not only for its religious significance, but also for its dramatic and visually striking rituals, which are considered a testament to faith and endurance. It is said Thaipusam continues to play an important role in preserving Hindu traditions in Malaysia, while also attracting tourism and promoting understanding of the community's religious practices. The festival lasts several days, with devotees and spectators alike participating in ceremonies, music, and prayer at the limestone caves and surrounding temple complex. Band-e-Emir National Park, located in central Afghanistan, is one of the country's most renowned natural attractions, drawing both domestic and international visitors to its dramatic landscape of mountains and lakes. Established in 2009 as Afghanistan's first national park, the site encompasses 6 deep blue lakes, which shimmer against rock cliffs and high-altitude terrain, creating a striking contrast that has made the park a symbol of the country's natural beauty. The park's lakes, with vivid blue and cobalt hues that have captivated photographers, hikers, and nature enthusiasts. Local officials say Band-e-Emir has become a focal point for tourism in the region, providing economic opportunities for nearby communities while showcasing Afghanistan's rich ecological heritage. Despite ongoing security challenges in the parts of the country, Band-e-Emir continues to attract visitors who travel to experience its clear waters, unique rock formations, and opportunities for hiking, boating, and wildlife observation. Conservationists emphasize that the park not only preserves Afghanistan's natural scenery but also protects rare flora and fauna, including migratory birds and endemic plant species, making it an important site for environmental stewardship in the country. Kenyan designers are taking the runway in a bold effort to promote sustainability and decarbonization in the fashion industry at the Nairobi Fashion Week this year. The event, which brings together emerging and established designers from across Africa, is using the platform to draw attention to fashion's climate footprint. Organizers and participants emphasize the environmental cost of the second-hand clothing imports, which dominate much of the continent's fashion market. By contrast, the showcased collections focus on locally sourced materials, renewable fabrics, and design practices that reduce carbon emissions. The week-long event features runway shows, panel discussions, and workshops aimed at educating consumers, industry stakeholders, and young designers. The displayed collections blend traditional African aesthetics with modern sustainable technique, reinforcing the idea that high fashion need not come at the expense of the planet. It is hoped that the initiatives like these will inspire other fashion weeks and brands to adopt greener production processes, reduce waste, and invest in circular economy models, positioning Africa as a leader in sustainable global fashion. Tourists and locals alike are flocking to the northern coast of Poland to witness a rare winter spectacle as parts of the Baltic Sea shoreline freeze over, creating vast expanses of ice and snow. Visitors are braving sub-zero temperatures on a frozen beach, Mykos Zero, near the Baltic Sea, where thermometers are expected to drop as low as minus 20 degrees Celsius. The icy landscape with towering sheets of ice along the shore and snow-covered dunes has become a popular destination for photographers, nature enthusiasts, and tourists seeking unusual winter experiences. Meteorologists attribute the extreme conditions to a combination of cold Arctic air masses and persistent low temperatures over the past week, which have frozen shallow coastal waters and created ice formations along the shore. Authorities have issued warnings to visitors, noting that the ice near the water's edge can be unstable and potentially hazardous. Despite the risks, tourism in the region has surged, with local businesses reporting increased visitors seeking to experience and photograph the frozen seascape. Officials are advising caution, encouraging people to stay on designated paths and avoid venturing onto thin ice, while still highlighting the phenomenon as a unique opportunity to witness the effects of severe winter weather along the Baltic coast. St. Mark's Square in Venice came alive this weekend as Venetians and international tourists donned sumptuous 18th century gowns, flowing Gothic dresses, and elaborately decorated masks to launch the 2026 Carnival of Venice. Despite patches of aqua alta, Venice's seasonal high water, glinting across the square, visitors posed for photos, browsed stalls selling handicraft masks, and joined locals in what has long been celebrated as one of the world's most visually spectacular festivals. The carnival, which runs for 15 days, transforms the historic city into a stage where centuries-old traditions of costume, performance, and artistry mingle with contemporary celebrations. Street performers, musicians, and artisans bring the narrow canals and piazzas to life, while the distinctive masks, ranging from Baroque elegance to fantastical creations, offer both anonymity and theatrical flair to participants. The Carnival of Venice remains one of the few major European festivals where historical authenticity, artistic craftsmanship, preserving a centuries-old celebration that continues to captivate both locals and international visitors. As the festival unfolds over the coming weeks, Venice promises a visual and cultural feast, a fleeting world where history and imagination seamlessly intertwine. As the Lunar Chinese New Year approaches, lantern festivals in cities across China are beginning to illuminate the night, creating a lively and festive atmosphere in the run-up to the grandest annual holiday for the Chinese people. This year's Spring Festival, or the traditional Chinese New Year's Day, which falls on February 17 this year, marks the beginning of the Year of the Horse on the cycle of 12 zodiac animals of the Chinese lunar calendar. It is the most important holiday in China, which is celebrated for family reunion and good luck in the upcoming year. In Zhejiang City of southwest China's Sichuan province, a stunning light spectacle inspired by the Kunpeng, a mythical Chinese creature that transformed from a giant fish into a giant bird, stretches 210 meters in length and rises 32 meters high, showcasing both traditional Chinese culture and modern technological advancements. To usher in the Year of the Horse, the lantern set of Hua Mulan, a legendary Chinese heroine who dressed as a man and joined the army in her father's place, cleverly merges the heroic figure of Mulan with the galloping horses. Meanwhile, the 40th Xinwei Lantern Festival in Nanjing, East China's Jiangsu province, has dazzled visitors with a massive 15-meter tall flying horse lantern vividly showcasing the artistry.
Nepal is a country well known for the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, and the birthplace of Lord Buddha, the pioneer of peace. This is a country equally graced by the beauty of natural scenery and cultural riches. Unity in diversity, immense tolerance, and confluence of coexistence, Nepal is a country of its own uniqueness. Lord Buddha, the pioneer of non-violence, tolerance, and peace, was born on the full moon day in Lumbini in 623 BC. Peace, compassion, mercy, tolerance, and salvation are the perennial paths of Buddhism that lead or have been leading mankind to complete freedom and welfare of all humankind. Lord Buddha taught the world to engage more on spiritual contemplation following those paths. Buddhism has indeed become a new way to most sought peace and prosperity. Thus, Lumbini has been growing into a sacred destination not only for Buddhists but also for peace lovers and spiritual practitioners. The life story and its supporting remnants related to the childhood life of Prince Siddhartha Gautam can still be seen and heard in Kapilvastu. The sacred historical bits and pieces attached to King Suddhodana, the father of Lord Buddha, which are of archaeological significance, will speak of Kapilvastu as an open museum. The remnant of eastern gate of the compound of King Suddhodana's palace was the main gate to the premises. You can witness here the entrance gates in all four directions, and indeed countless remains lying on your left and right, and back and front, bearing historical significance. In ancient time, the area was even known as Kapilvastu as today it is, but later the place was also called Tulalakot. According to Buddhist books and literature, Devdaha in Rupandehi district was homeland of Lord Buddha's maternal uncle and father-in-law as well. The bricks used to build homes are still lying plenty scattered there, and to your wonder, some bricks even weigh 12 kilograms. There is another place called Kudan, which is within the district headquarters of Taulihawa. And legend has that here, King Suddhodana encountered his son Siddhartha for the first time after the latter was enlightened to Buddha. This place was also called Nigrodhara, which is now surrounded by the remnants of stupas. Similarly, this was the very place where Buddha's stepmother, Gautami Prajapati, handed monk's dress over to Lord Buddha. Likewise, Ram Gram in Nawalparasi district is the place where a stupa of Lord Buddha's cool bone was built after his parinirvana demise. Excavation is still undergoing in this place. Kapilvastu, Lumbini, Ram Gram and Devda are therefore indelible places highly attached to the life of Lord Buddha. Kapilvastu was the kingdom of Sakya, Lord Buddha's clan, whereas Ram Gram and Devda were of Koliyas. And the two states were bordered by Rohini River, some 27 kilometers east. To Kapilvastu was Lumbini, which was at that time densely cocooned by sal and ashok trees and was popularly known as Sacred Garden. Buddhist tales say once when Buddha's mother Mayadevi was journeying to her parental home, Mayadevi, she experienced delivery symptoms. Gripping a branch of a tree, she gave birth to Prince Siddhartha. According to some old Buddhist literature, the birth of Prince Siddhartha bore several symptoms and well indicated that the newborn baby was not a common birth, but a birth of a dignified, spiritual, and an incarnate. Legend has that the newborn baby walked 7 steps far immediately after it was off mother's womb. Moreover, the new baby uttered the following revelations: I would be the first among mortals to go beyond passing through this worldly web. This is my last birth. Rebirth never happens with me again. Prince Siddhartha lived an affluent life of 29 years at Kapilvastu Palace. But when he tried to penetrate and see close to the eternal truth of life, then he started contemplating on life. Why does a man become old? Why does he suffer from different diseases? Why does he die? These were the pertinent questions that haunted him most. Driven by divine spirit to find ultimate truth, he decided to renounce royal life. One night, he left his family, friends, and palace to seek salvation and eternal truth. Roaming several days, he reached Bodh Gaya of India, and there under a peepal tree, he had gone for meditation and became Buddha. He gave his first religious preaching in Sarnath in Varanasi, India. He talked about eternal truth, human duty, peace, and the path of salvation there, and earned a number of followers. Buddha underwent parinirvana, death, at the age of 80 in Kushinagar. Addressing his followers just before his parinirvana, Lord Buddha said, my devotees will visit and throng around the places where I took birth, where I was enlightened, where I first delivered my preaching, and where I got parinirvana. So, Lumbini, saturated by Lord Buddha's peace-loaded messages for over ages, has been the most sacred religious sites for many, if not only for Buddhists. Today, the Buddhists and the followers of Buddhism and peace lovers of the world over visit Lumbini to pay homage to Lord Buddha and feel and get familiar to his brainchild, peace. King Ashoka, a staunch supporter of Buddha, visited Lumbini in 249 BC and built a pillar quite near to Buddha's nativity site. The Ashoka pillar bears an inscription that says, "Buddha was born here." Lumbini is not only an attractive tourism hub today, but it's also a live state of historical and archaeological significance. To preserve Lumbini, the government of Nepal and Japan Buddhist Association have jointly launched the excavation since 1992. Lumbini had undergone negligence of both government and non-government entities for centuries. Planned and coordinated effort began only in 1953. The United Nations appointed famous Japanese professor and engineer Kenjo Tange to make a master plan for the development of Lumbini. Government of Nepal accepted the proposed master plan in 1978. To develop Lumbini according to the master plan, Government of Nepal established Lumbini Development Fund in 1985. According to the master plan, Lumbini Development Region has been divided into 3 zones. At the meantime, several phases of development have also been adopted. In first zone comes Sacred Garden. Second, Zone of Stupas. And in third comes New Lumbini Village. It is expected that the Sacred Garden will create a kind of aura, ensuring peaceful ambience, natural serenity, and religious sacredness to its visitors, in which they can feel deep Lord Buddha's message of peace and compassion. The very core of Lumbini Garden is the nativity site of Buddha. The plain bas relief of Mayadevi, which is supposed to be about 17 to 1800 years old, and depicts the nativity scene has been put in the newly renovated temple. Near the temple lies Sakya Kund, sacred pond, where Mayadevi was supposed to have taken bath before giving birth to Buddha. Zone of Stupas is another important feature of Lumbini Master Plan, within which territory countries, international associations and devotees of world over can build stupas of their own in dedication to Lord Buddha. Moreover, the zone of stupas has been divided into two. In the western part, the followers of Mahayana sect are building their stupas, whereas eastern part is dominated by Theravada sect. This zone of stupas has 41 geographic subdivisions in which various countries, organizations and devotees have been building chotens, monasteries and stupas respectively. With a view to carry study and research on Buddhism and its inherent philosophy, a cultural studies center has been set up in Lumbini. The study center has museum, library and archives in which you can find Buddhism-related books, literature, arts and other valuable materials. Similarly, Lumbini International Research Center has been set up, which provides materials and other needed support to researchers of other religion, philosophy and culture. There is also a library for those who want to study about peace and religion. Another major attraction of Lumbini is its eternal flame, which is placed in Shanti Kunj Peace Hour. The flame was ignited on the occasion of the International Peace Year in 1985. The flame can be considered as bold symbol to keep Lord Buddha's peace messages alive. Lumbini village is the exterior part of Lumbini Master Plan, where various facilities of lodging and fooding for the visitors are catered in depending on their capacities. There are a number of cheap and affordable rest houses to moderate ones and luxury hotels laced by all modern amenities. A peace stupa has been built in the northern side of Lumbini. It is the tallest stupa in the area. The story of the greatness of Lord Buddha's birthplace, Lumbini, is not an imagined story of a next world. Lumbini, in fact, is the most sacred place which can emanate peace, friendship, kindness, compassion, and feeling of coexistence to all people of all ages. This is a destination to inward peace, a holy place for enlightenment. Indeed, the sacredness of Lumbini existed in the past too. It is today too, and it will be tomorrow too.
Everest, I would say, is high, but it's easier to climb than Makalu. Makalu is a little bit technical. Kanchenjunga is very high. It's technical and it's isolated. Everest, you get internet on base camp all the time. Camp 2 is quite big. Camp 2, you get internet again. Now people even have internet on Camp 4. So I would say Everest is easier. It's higher, difficult for sure. But Makalu and Kanchenjunga are less climbed and they are definitely harder. Kanchenjunga was very hard. They have different challenges, but I think K2 is definitely more technical, more harder. So K2 has different challenges, but both mountains have different challenges. If I have to compare the two, one is K2 is more. I'm planning to climb Shishapangma in autumn because China sometimes doesn't give permits out. It's better to climb when the permits are being given. And I'm planning to climb Dhaulagiri next year in spring. I always take one Sherpa, and I climbed in Nepal mostly with Imagine Nepal, one peak with 7 summits. I always go with one Sherpa because I think it's safer. I mean, when I send mostly I just keep going. I don't need anybody, but if any emergency happens, then it's better to have a guide with you and a local guide who knows the mountain. I'm strong enough when sometimes I'm just going by myself. I do need oxygen, so they carry it. But I am a mother of 2 small girls, so I will not climb without the help of Sherpa. It's something usually mothers, like I haven't seen any young mothers on the mountain, so it's not easy to leave your young kids. Anything can happen if you die, then who's gonna look after the kids. But I have some sort of confidence. Maybe people will not agree, but I know I will come back down for my young girls. And usually people say, how can you leave your young girls behind? But when I'm on the mountain, I have a difficult moment. I think about my daughters, that my daughters need me, so I need to go back no matter what. So I put extra effort. I'm more focused just because I know I have 2 daughters home. So they've been my strength, not my weakness. I think collaboration is very important. Like you said, Pakistan and Nepal has most number of 8,000 meter peaks. We can learn a lot from Nepal when it comes to tourism because we are very behind. Your economy, you get in your GDP, most of the revenue comes from tourism, and we have beautiful mountains like Nepal, but we have very minimal revenue that comes from tourism. So we can learn definitely from Nepal, and the process is like everything. When we get to Nepal, to when we get to base camp, to summit, back, and then out of the country, it's like I love the process in Nepal. We are very far behind, but we have tourism potential. So I think we can collaborate in that sense where we can learn from Nepal experience. I don't see many Nepalis in Pakistan, so I mean we should promote tourism of Nepalis also and Pakistanis coming also to each other's country. There's definitely room for improvement when it comes to collaboration between the 2 countries, and I know we love Nepali and Nepali also love us, so yeah, we need to make use of that. I think first time the process of coming in, because in Pakistan it was hard. Now it's improving. As soon as we come in, it was easy. People are really nice. I think most Nepali I met are nice, friendly. They know how to communicate, I think that was the best part, the friendliness of the Nepali people and the kindness. Hardship for me personally is being away from family. So Kanchenjunga, for example, I said is isolated. It's very far from connectivity. So not being able to speak to the family, for example, was the hard. I mean, nothing that I had no difficulty from Nepal itself or the people from Nepal, but just being away from family and emotional difficulty.
Experience has always been good. Nepali, if I say Nepali, I would say धेरै राम्रो छ. मलाई नेपालको टुरिज्म मेरो एक्सपिरियन्स धेरै मन पर्छ, खुसी लाग्छ नेपालमा. यस्तो घर जस्तो भएको. I've loved Nepal. This country has accepted me a lot, and it's a pleasure for me to be here always. If if we talk about Nepal, I think it's more commercial, and I think the tourism in Nepal is like very fast in Pakistan, but now eventually Pakistan is growing as well. But if I compare Karakoram or Himalayas, Karakoram are more like steeper and more difficult, more technical to climb, and the specific region and the moving glaciers and everything that make them more difficult, especially the change of weather. So I believe that the Karakorams are more difficult to climb. I've seen a lot of Sherpas in Nepal, in Pakistan, who come to climb a lot of mountains. Mero sabai sathiharu Nepalko, every season they come to K2 and Nanga Parbat and Broad Peak to climb that mountain. And they are one of the lead climbers as well. So, you know, in Pakistan, there is much respect to the Sherpas. In Pakistan is so good. Sherparu sabai धेरै मन पर्छ पाकिस्तानमा. यो so same गर्दै जस्तो लाग्छ. मलाई त तीनवटा कन्ट्री त मन पर्छ. तिब्बतमा अलिकति गाह्रो छ, यसको पर्मिटको भिजाको अलिकति गाह्रो छ. अनि नेपालमा त इजी, पाकिस्तानमा इजी हो. मलाई त राम्रो लाग्छ. It's more like Nepal or Pakistan friendship expedition, something like that. And I think it's a great idea. It should be initiated. And we are up, me, Sarvaz, Naila, we are one of the Pakistani climbers. And yes, of course, in Nepal there are a lot of climbers as well. So we can combine an expedition, we can launch it to Everest or K2, whatever it feels like.
I climb Nanga Parbat solo, also Broad Peaks. Then K2 I have one Pakistani climbing partner. Sherpa in last one day, just and Camp 4 to Camp 4, I use Sherpa. जिस कंपनी में मैं आया था उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं आप अकेले क्लाइंब कर सकते हैं लेकिन विंड बहुत ज़्यादा है, लेकिन आपको शेरपा लेके जाना पड़ेगा. फिर आखिरी दिन वो शेरपा साथ दिया तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वो शेरपा के ने बहुत सपोर्ट किया. शेरपा ने भी, विंड भी बहुत ज़्यादा था तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह समिट हो गया उस वजह से. इस माउंटेन इज़ नॉट डिफरेंट, मुश्किल वो भी है, मुश्किल ये भी है. यहाँ पे लोग कहते हैं कि माउंट एवरेस्ट बहुत आसान है, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है. यहाँ के जो लोग हैं उन लोगों ने काम किया है, इस वजह से यहाँ पे आसान है. अदरवाइज़ आप ख़ुद से जिस तरीके से हमने क्लाइंबिंग की यहाँ पे, ख़ुद से अगर क्लाइंबिंग करें, आप अपना जूता खुद पहने, अपने लिए पानी खुद बनाएं, अपने लिए रूट खुद बनाएं, तो ये बहुत आसान काम नहीं है. क्योंकि मैंने देखा है एवरेस्ट के अंदर, एवरेस्ट का कैंप 4 तक, बेस कैंप से कैंप 4 से समिट इतना ही डिस्टेंस बराबर है. तो डेथ जोन के अंदर आप 6-7 घंटा 12 घंटा आप रहते हैं, आसान नहीं है. तो हर पहाड़ का अपना एक खेल है. जैसे K2 है, K2 के ऊपर एवलांच वगैरह होते हैं, आइस फॉल होता है, रॉक गिरता है. यहाँ पे ये नहीं होता, लेकिन उसके बदले में फिर इसकी हाई बहुत ज़्यादा है, बहुत ज़्यादा हाई है और लंबा बहुत ज़्यादा है. तो इंसान है, बहरहाल वो क्या कहते हैं कि तकलीफ़ होती है हर जगह पे, हर पहाड़ का अपनी एक तकलीफ़ है. तो बहरहाल ये मेरे लिए बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस था. मैंने बहुत कुछ सीखा यहाँ पे नेपाल में आके, क्योंकि यहाँ पे जिस तरीके से लोग काम करते हैं, इवन बेस कैंप से लेके टॉप तक जो लोग काम करते हैं, अगर इस तरीके से अगर हम कोशिश करें पाकिस्तान के अंदर, अगर हमारे जो क्लाइंट्स हैं इंटरनेशनल लेवल के जो क्लाइंट्स आते हैं उनके लिए इस तरीके से प्रोफेशनल तरीके से हम अगर खिदमत करें तो डेफिनेटली पाकिस्तान के अंदर भी बहुत ज़्यादा टूरिज़म आ सकता है. क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ पे एक पाकिस्तान के अंदर एक चीज़ की कमी है कि प्रोफेशनल लोग बहुत कम हैं. यानी जैसा माउंटेन गाइड्स है ही नहीं कोई, मतलब सरबाज वगैरह जो अभी जो नए लड़का है, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा अगर आने वाले 2-3 साल में ये एक आध होंगे. तो हमें इनिशियल स्टेज पे यहाँ पे किसी तरीके से हमें कोई ऐसा एक्सेस मिल जाए कि हमें कोई ट्रेनिंग्स मिल जाए. जिस तरीके से यहाँ पे लोग काम करते हैं, इसी तरीके से अगर हम पाकिस्तान में भी थोड़ा सा अवेयरनेस के साथ अगर हमें 1 साल की अगर ट्रेनिंग दे दे तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हमारे लोग भी बहुत ज़्यादा तगड़े हैं. तो क्योंकि जो क्लाइंट जो है वो सर्टिफिकेशन देखता है, तो वो देखता है कि कितना ट्रेंड है और कितना मतलब इसके पास एक्सपीरियंस है. तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह एक्सपीरियंस तो हम लोगों के पास भी बहुत है, लेकिन सर्टिफिकेशन नहीं होने की वजह से मतलब फॉरेनर जो है जो हमारे ऊपर ट्रस्ट कम करता है, तो ज़्यादातर पाकिस्तान के अंदर भी नेपाल से जो शेरपाज है उनको लेके आते हैं और उनके ऊपर ज़्यादा ट्रस्ट किया जाता है, हमारे ऊपर ट्रस्ट कम किया जाता है.
I like it when someone says you looks like a Sherpa, or you say some or says you are like Sherpas, you're like strong with Sherpa. I'm very happy because in this world, in this our climbing community, Sherpas like brand.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy when someone says you looks like Sherpa, or you like Sherpa. Oh yeah, in 2021, in COVID time, he said, "Oh, Nepali or Pakistani passport." I said, "Oh, come on, man. I'm from Pakistan." So yeah, my look is like a Tibetan, and my mother from Skardu, and yeah, I climbed my first 8,000 is Nanga Parbat with Sherpas. Or maybe Imaji is the first K2 Winters summiter. And I'm lucky I climbed with Imaji my first 8,000. Even I start my climbing career with Sherpas. So till now, I think 90% of my 8,000ers are climbing career with Sherpas. So most of my climbs with Sherpas in Pakistan, Nepal, and in Tibet, China. Like Tikcha, like this, yeah. Yeah, I feel when I come to Nepal, I feel like my second home, to be honest. All Sherpas, even 80% of Sherpas, they know me, they knows me. And I have a good relation with Sherpas, they respect. I think who are living in the mountains, almost same culture, same honesty, and yeah, little bit food is a little bit different, but yeah, I think who are living on the mountains, connect with nature, so both are the same, but so we need to extend our seasons, like autumn, we have good autumn and spring also, but we have no qualified climbers, guides, so we need to work on this, and then yes, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, because when I start my climbing career in 2016-17 and I climbed my first 8,000er Nanga Parbat, that time I announced Mission Summit 14 without oxygen. But later on Annapurna, Kanchenjunga and Everest, the last part, I feel the weather was very bad and strong winds, I use oxygen. So I repeat this year these three peaks, like K2 in last year, Annapurna and Kanchenjunga this season. So I'm very happy. This is the big, I think, in adventure tourism, like in climbing, you can say it's a FIFA World Cup, like when you are climbing without oxygen, without Sherpa. But we help. We need without Sherpa's help. You can say without Sherpa. So without oxygen, I complete my Mission Summit 14 and become first Pakistani. This is not for me or not my family. It's like, this is record for whole Pakistan. So I'm feeling very proud, to be honest. After 8 years, I complete my big dream. I think this is sometime when I remember my all past and my climbing career, I feel very different because I came as a kitchen boy, as a porter. I worked as a kitchen boy 6-7 years when I was in college. So after 8 years, when I complete my Mission Summit 14, it looks like a dream. It looks like of course different experience because it's involved weather, it's terrain, But it's most difficult is of course Kanchenjunga and Annapurna here in Nepal, in Pakistan K2 and Nanga Parbat. So every peak have different terrain, different hardness or its difficult level is. Manaslu is like I think easiest mountain in Mission Summit 14, like in Pakistan G2 and Manaslu in Nepal is easiest. Sometimes it's like 2 years, 3 years ago, the BKO launch came and even our team, 3 Sherpas injured. Sometimes it's mountain is mountain. We can't fight against the nature like sometimes happen. Every mountain is like a difficult level is different, but sometimes easy. You can say this is easy, but it's like you remember in Shishapama last year in 2023, big accident there, and Gina from US, Anna, and one of the Lama, one of the best climber in Nepal. We lost. Sometimes it's happened like this. If you have manpower. Annapurna first. Between Camp 2 and Camp 3, you can't understand what happened. When you are climbing between Camp 2 and Camp 3, sometimes your breath level is like, I can't explain because I climbed 2 times, so I feel inside. So I climbed 3 times K2, but I think in Pakistan we have very strong climbers, but like trainings, even here in Nepal, I think 3-4 big like NNMGA, IFMGA, like this institute, but in Pakistan till now, single person we have not certified, IFMGA certified, but I think in Nepal 80 plus IFMGA guides. So we need collaboration with Nepal or like Norway. So we need to establish some good institutes, schools, training schools. Then hopefully we have in future we improve in climbing and in tourism department. Nepal is like really they make good rules and regulations. For tourists, what you need, is freedom. Everything is available. Every year more people. I saw more climbers visiting Nepal, and more ability. Like IFMGA guides, more they add every year like 5-6. So this is a good sign for Nepal to boost adventure tourism in Nepal. In starting days, I faced very difficult because I have no sponsors. But Migmaji is like my brother. He helped me a lot, and if I'm here this time in Nepal, and I do because of him. He's helped like his brother, and Alhamdulillah, I hard worker, and God give me a opportunity and give me success one by one, and now I am here. And after my 6th peak, I got first sponsors, local sponsor from Pakistan. Then till now I have because before 6th I visited 2 times in Nepal, once Manaslu and Slotse. So that time Migmaji gave me an opportunity to come to Nepal and climb with my company, and I already 2 trainings from here, me and Abdul Joshi and Suhail from Pakistan. So in future, yes, but now I am getting old. So my plan is like this. I want to introduce IFMGA in Pakistan, the most important thing. We have no single one, IFMGA certified single one. So we need to establish some schools, some training centers. And I work as a guide. It's different question. I think so. I don't like even too much branding, but I work as a ground level to establish one school and more people to involve in climbing, because we have potential. We have 8,000ers or 6,000 and 7,000. Even in Pakistan, unclimbed peaks also. So I want to try to establish one good school and yes, I have some. I already start my book. So yeah, we are thinking about also a documentary, good documentary, not like maybe 20% little bit up and down, but 80% I want
natural
to try
footage.
natural, not like fake. Good friend, my partner, Saad Munawar, he's just 3 days before he climbed from north side, Everest. He's the first Pakistani to climb
From north side.
From north side. So yeah, he's a nice writer also. So we together.
So from
You know, when humans are approached and interfere in the nature, yeah, there are vast. But we need to clean, because you saw nowadays last 3-4 years climate change, like we don't understand what happened on whole. But we have big glaciers. The most affected areas, I think, in Nepal and Pakistan, because we have big glaciers like Siachen, Himalaya here, Siachen, Baltoro, Biafo. So we need to protect also our glaciers.
Pakistani climbers today here, and this is also a shared heritage of Pakistan and Nepal, that out of 14 8,000ers, 13 of us, 13 we share between us, and K2 in Everest, you can see on the plaque that is also on the right on my wall, that we share this heritage. And recently I also congratulate Nepal for holding Sagarmatha Samvad, which highlighted that ecology and the mountains' fragile ecology is not a given, and we need to do something to protect it. And in doing so, I think we celebrate our climbers, and we also celebrate those who are preserving it and the geography.
Nepal government issues new guidelines to mitigate risk of Nipah virus transmission following reported cases in India. Nepal's Election Commission confirms printing of over 28.3 million ballot papers for March 5 elections towards proportional representation. Gold prices' frequent fluctuation leaves Nepal's bullion market in turmoil. India's budget for next fiscal year focuses on nurturing rural growth and high-speed rail expansion, allocates 8 billion rupees grant to Nepal. Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei issues a stark warning of a regional war to US if military action launched. And Carlos Alcaraz makes history by defeating Novak Djokovic in the men's final at the Australian Open. Good evening, I'm Bishata Bhandari and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Nepal government has issued new guidelines to mitigate the risk of Nipah virus transmission following a case reported in West Bengal, India. Ministry of Health and Population has emphasized early identification, quarantine and public awareness as the key preventive measures. The guidelines also stress the importance of isolating infected individuals and avoiding contact with bats or raw date juice. Health workers are required to use personal protective equipment (PPE), and a 21-day observation period is mandated for individuals in contact with the infected. As there is no specific treatment for Nipah, officials state that care will be symptomatic. We'll follow more on this in our segment Cover Story later in the bulletin. Nepal's Election Commission says preparations for the upcoming elections are on track, confirming the printing of 28.3 million ballot papers for the proportional representation vote scheduled for March 5. Ballot papers for direct elections in 25 districts have also been completed, with around 3 million printed so far by Janak Educational Materials Centre Limited in Bhaktapur. Meanwhile, as election logistics progress, political campaigns are increasingly shifting focus to urban centres, reflecting Nepal's growing city-based voter population. Candidates are intensifying outreach in major cities including Kathmandu, Pokhara, Biratnagar and Butwal, as cold weather and migration patterns make rural campaigning more challenging. Prices of gold and silver in Nepal have entered a phase of extreme volatility, mirroring sharp fluctuations in the international bullion market amid global economic and geopolitical uncertainty. Over the past 2 weeks alone, gold prices in Nepal have risen by around Rs 62,000 per tola, prompting traders to shut shops and experts to warn of a possible market correction rather than a crash. As uncertainty persists, consumers are increasingly turning to silver, while traders say upcoming global developments could determine the bullion market's next course. We will delve more on this in our segment Issue of the Day later in the bulletin. India has announced a grant of Rs 8 billion, equivalent to 12.8 billion Nepali rupees, to Nepal for the fiscal year 2026-27. The allocation, presented by Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in Parliament, matches Nepal's initial grant in the previous fiscal year, which was later revised upward to Rs 8.3 billion. In comparison, Bhutan remains the largest recipient of Indian grants at Rs 22.88 billion, followed by allocations to the Maldives, Sri Lanka, Myanmar and Afghanistan. The budget outlines India's continued development assistance to its neighbours and partner countries across South Asia and beyond. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has warned of a regional war if the United States launches military action amid an expanded U.S. military presence in the Gulf. Washington has deployed additional troops, naval assets and missile defense systems, citing growing threats from Iran-aligned forces in the region. The warning reflects deep-rooted tensions between Tehran and Washington over Iran's nuclear program, regional influence, and the presence of U.S. forces in the neighboring countries. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump says Iran is engaged in serious discussions with Washington despite the escalating military buildup. Carlos Alcaraz defeated Novak Djokovic 2-6, 6-2, 6-3, 7-5 in the men's singles final of the Australian Open. The world number one claimed his 7th Grand Slam title while denying Djokovic a record-breaking 25th major singles crown. Alcaraz, who has previously beaten Djokovic on the big stage, once again showcased his dominance in a high-intensity final. The loss marks a missed milestone for the Serbian great as the rivalry between the two stars continues to define men's tennis. Gold prices have surged across markets, sending consumers and traders alike in a frenzy. Does this reflect yet another market trend, or does it point towards more volatility? We look into this in our Issue of the Day segment. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Now time for our Issue of the Day segment. For the last 2 weeks, the fluctuation in the prices of gold and silver has made headlines, not just in Nepal but globally. From single-day rise of 20,000 plus rupees per tola last week to traders pulling down the shutters due to extreme volatility, the bullion market in itself is confused. Amid all these uncertainties, fears are rife whether gold is still the safest investment option and if the bullion market is heading to a crash. Sabika Shrestha explores more on this.
जनतालाई धेरै गाह्रो भयो नि अब यो बिहा गर्नेहरूले के गरे सुन अब नक्ली सुन लाउनु पर्यो कि चाहिँ अब सुनको भाव बढेर चोरी हुने भइसक्यो धेरै नेपालको लागि राम्रो होइन यो
Prices of gold and silver in Nepal, which had been rising steadily for months, have entered a phase of extreme volatility, closely tracking fluctuations in the international bullion market. Fluctuation in the international and domestic gold markets run parallel, and Nepal has now witnessed its highest ever surge in gold prices. On Thursday, price of gold in the Nepali market jumped to an unprecedented 3,40,000 rupees per tola, recording single-day increase of 20,500 rupees per tola, the highest ever in the country's bullion history. The surge was followed by an equally sharp decline on Friday when prices dropped to 3,18,800 rupees per tola, underscoring the market's instability. Over the past 2 weeks alone, price of the yellow metal in Nepal increased by around 62,000 rupees per tola, while prices have climbed by nearly 2,33,000 rupees per tola over the past 3 years. Tej Ratna Sakya, former president of Nepal Gold and Silver Dealers Federation, warns that such unnatural growth may trigger a correction, though the timing remains uncertain.
Our market is dependent upon the international market. And the rate of gold is fluctuating in the international market as the condition of the dollar or the market situation. Nowadays we can see the gold has risen up very much 2-3 days before. That was the highest price. People are saying that there should be one position that will come as a crash. The market will crash. They are calling this. But now we have seen that this downfall is called healthy correction only.
Perception of gold varies across regions. In many Asian countries, including Nepal and India, gold is primarily viewed as a cultural asset deeply tied to weddings, festivals, and life cycle rituals. In contrast, European markets largely treat gold as a fashion commodity, investment instrument, or financial security. Wary of the course correction, traders in Nepal are already pulling down their shutters.
Fluctuations are mostly driven by geopolitics. So it's very difficult to predict because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. If something happens in Middle East, prices go up. If something happens in Western countries, the prices go up. So it's very difficult to say, and it has been very difficult to plan our business properly because of this. So yeah, very uncertain future, we would say.
Observing recent price fluctuations and learning from global trends, Nepalis are increasingly viewing gold as an investment option. Traders say February could play a crucial role in determining future gold prices, as several global developments are expected to influence the bullion market. As market remains extremely volatile amid fears of global bullion market crash, consumers of late have turned to silver as the better investment option. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Rasila Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
As gold prices reach record highs, demand for the precious metal is soaring across the globe, including Asia, with consumers in China and Vietnam rushing to turn jewelry and family heirlooms into cash or secure new holdings. In China's Shanghai, dozens of people crowded around an automated gold recycling machine at a shopping mall, hoping to melt down heirlooms for profit. It reflects growing interest in liquidating personal assets amid economic uncertainty. The price surge has also raised concerns for those who borrow in gold, as repayment obligations increase in value with market fluctuations. This global trend underscores gold's enduring appeal as a safe haven during periods of global financial instability and inflationary pressures, reflecting broader shifts in household investment behavior across the region. In this context, we asked the public, why are you still buying gold? Let's take a look at what they had to say.
We are from a middle class family, so due to the price is like so high right now, so we can't buy anything. Like we also know that being from Asian culture, we have to wear gold in our every function and every ceremony. So if we'll go buy like gold, then we can't afford such prices. So the price should be like at a stable. It should be like minimum like around 1 something or 2 point something, but it's rising high and high day by day. So the government have to think about how can we make the price stable.
सरकारले एउटा नीति बनाएर सबैजनालाई सबै अब हाम्रो देशको सबै नागरिक सेम नै इक्वल नै गरेर गरेको भइदियो चाहिँ अलि राम्रो हुन्छ सबैजनालाई. अब यो कहिले धेरै बढ्ने कहिले थोरै छ हैन, अब सबैजनालाई सहज त भएन नि त.
मध्यमवर्ग हामीहरु जस्तालाई अब नलगाम भने पनि हुने भए पनि फेरि बाध्यताले गर्दा छोराछोरीको बिहाहरुमा अब एकअर्काको देख्दाखेरि हैन जसरी तसरी बाध्यताले गर्दा थोरै धेरै लिनै पर्ने हुन्छ. यसको लागि अब कम गर्दै गए पर अलि नियन्त्रण भए पर सबैलाई राम्रो हुन्थ्यो हैन.
It's increasing unbelievably and it's very hard for us middle class people to go and buy. I guess it must be in certain range that we can also buy and enjoy in that gold. It's a kind of tradition for us to wear gold in every ritual.
1.5 महिना अगाडिदेखि जुन भाउमा सक्सेसन भइरहेछन् त्यो चाहिँ अचानक रूपमा अहिलेसम्म आज 18 गतेसम्म आउँदाखेरि धेरै हामीले आश्चर्यको किसिमबाटै यो सुनको भाव बढिया भने हामीलाई नै आश्चर्य लागिरहेछ भने कस्टमरलाई लागिराख्ने स्वाभाविकै हो.
इन्भेस्ट गर्नेहरूलाई हैन कहिले अप कहिले डाउन उहाँहरूलाई पनि हुन्छ नि त्यो के गर्ने बेच्ने कि राख्ने कि के गर्ने भोलि मार्केट क्रास हुन सक्छ भन्ने डर चाहिँ भइरहेछ हैन. अनि प्लस चोरी डकैती धेरै एकदम किनभने प्राइस हाई हुने बित्तिकै चोरी घरमा चोरी मान्छेहरू अनसेफ फिल गरिरहनु भएको छ हैन. त्यो प्रब्लम चाहिँ एकदम आइरहेछ सुनको भाउ बढ्न कारणले चाहिँ हैन. त्यो चाहिँ एकदम अनडाइजेस्टेबल भएको छ कि एक दिनमै 30-40 हजार बढ्नु भनेको चाहिँ लेट्स सी के हुन्छ मार्केट भन्ने कुरा.
नेपालमा सबैजनाले यो चाहिँ सुनलाई चाहिँ प्रयोग गर्न नसक्ने खालको वातावरण सिर्जना भएको छ. यो सुन भन्ने कुराहरू चाहिँ धनी मनीहरूले मात्रै युज गर्न पाउने, गरिबहरूले चाहिँ नपाउने. यसले गर्दाखेरि चोरी डकैतीहरूमा चाहिँ बढी हुन थालेको यस्तो पनि चाहिँ देखिया छ. लेडिजहरूको चाहिँ कानै च्यातिने गरी सुनहरू खोसेर भाग्ने भइरहेछ. यो सुनको भाउ यसरी 81 बढेको गर्दाखेरि परेको प्रभाव पनि होला भन्ने जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई.
That wraps up our Issue of the Day segment. Moving on, another deadly virus seems to be knocking on South Asia's doorstep as cases of Nipah virus emerge in India. Consequently, Nepal has tightened its grip on the surveillance, gearing to take precautionary steps against the Nipah threat. More on this in our cover story of the day. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. With no vaccine or specific treatment available, alarm is rising across South Asia as the deadly Nipah virus resurfaces. The confirmation of cases in India's West Bengal has triggered heightened surveillance and cross-border preparedness, underscoring fears around a virus with a fatality rate of up to 75%. Aprila Khesing-Lama takes a closer look.
2 cases of the Nipah virus have been officially confirmed in India's West Bengal, prompting heightened surveillance across the region. Nearly 200 people have been quarantined in India as health authorities work to contain the outbreak. In response, Nepal has also stepped up preparedness. The government of Nepal has issued new national guidelines aimed at preventing the possible spread of the Nipah virus into the country. According to the Ministry of Health and Population, the guidelines prioritize early detection of cases, quarantine measures, public awareness, protection of healthcare workers, and prevention of animal-to-human transmission. Authorities say Nipah virus infection often begins with common viral symptoms such as fever, headache, and sore throat. However, in some patients, the illness can rapidly progress to severe respiratory distress, brain inflammation, coma, and even death. Health experts warn that Nipah carries a high fatality rate estimated between 40 and 75%, depending largely on access to timely medical care. The high risk is why countries across South Asia are increasing monitoring and surveillance efforts. Nepal's health ministry has specifically urged the public not to consume raw date, palm sap, to avoid contact with bats or sick animals, and to isolate anyone showing symptoms. Healthcare workers have been instructed to strictly use personal protective equipment, PPE, while individuals who come into contact with confirmed or suspected patients will be monitored for 21 days. Scientifically, Nipah is classified as a zoonotic disease, meaning it spreads from animals to humans. It was first identified in 1998 among pig farmers in Malaysia and is known to be carried by fruit bats. Human-to-human transmission is possible, but it usually requires close and prolonged contact, often involving caregivers. Importantly, the virus is not airborne, a factor that significantly limits its pandemic potential. There is currently no vaccine or specific antiviral treatment for Nipah, and care is limited to managing symptoms.
To help us understand the risk better, we are joined live by Dr. Anup Subedi, an infectious disease specialist at Midharma Clinic's Kirtipur Hospital. Welcome to NewsHour, Dr. Subedi.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Subedi, Nepal has gone on high alert after a Nipah outbreak in India. From a public health perspective, how vulnerable is Nepal at this moment, and what factors make this virus a concern for us?
So, Nepal does have geographic proximity to the area of the current outbreak. And the first outbreak in India, that was in one, happened actually close to the easternmost Napa district. So in Siliguri area in India. So because of that, because similar vegetation for fauna, there may be the risk of the same virus outbreak. However, this virus is not a very transmissible virus. Even though the fatality rate is high, it is not very easily transmissible. The number that tells us how infectious this virus is, something called a basic reproduction number, is less than 1. What that means is usually when there are outbreaks, they gradually die down on their own because they cannot infect enough people to keep the outbreak. Yes, there is some risk, but it's not very.
And Dr. Subedi, Nipah can initially resemble common viral illnesses. So what symptoms should immediately raise red flags for us? And when should a person seek urgent medical attention?
Right. So this is a little challenging question to answer because it is also a time of winter season when there is influenza and other upper respiratory viral illnesses going around. So there will be a lot of people who will have fever, headache, body pain, which are common symptoms of most viral infections. It probably depends first on where you are located. So if you are we are right next to West Bengal in eastern Nepal. If you're having any severe headache, vomiting, or respiratory symptoms that is getting worse, or if you have pain in the back of your neck, which can indicate appendicitis, or if you start having delirium, like you're not able to tell who you are or what you see, not able to people around you, or you have any abnormal movements or features, these are the red flag symptoms. But more importantly, you want to get to doctor as soon as possible. If you happen to live in one of these areas, or if you are a healthcare worker and you are, seeing somebody in the hospital with this kind of symptoms, or if you feel you recently traveled to India, that part of India, and you're developing this, you may want to see the doctor early.
Okay, Dr. Subedi, and as we know, there is no vaccine or specific treatment for Nepal. So what practical precautions should the public in Nepal follow right now?
Right. So in general, for an average person in Nepal, if they practice basic good hygiene practices like, hand washing, frequent hand washing, or using sanitizer to keep that, or and if you put on masks when you are in crowds, you are going to be almost absolutely safe. You're very low risk getting infected. If you live in the areas where there may be fruit bats, then you probably want to avoid raw fruits or vegetables, and you want to also avoid contact with bats and pigs, and you probably have to just stay informed about the surrounding areas. You want to seek medical care as soon as you are.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Subedi.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That was our cover story of the day. Now on to more updates. President Ramchandra Paudel will embark on a 4-day official visit to Japan from today. The visit, at the invitation of the Japanese government, marks the 70th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between Nepal and Japan. The president will be accompanied by a Nepali delegation and is expected to participate in a special reception hosted by Japan on February 2nd. The visit will include discussions on strengthening bilateral ties, and President Paudel is scheduled to return to Nepal on the afternoon of the February 4th. The United Arab Emirates, or UAE, has granted pardons to 267 Nepali prisoners as part of its National Day celebrations. This gesture is seen as an effort to strengthen the diplomatic relationship between Nepal and the UAE. Nepali nationals who have been serving sentences for various offences in the UAE prisons will now be able to return home after completing any remaining legal procedures. Nepal's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has expressed gratitude for this humanitarian move. The UAE is home to a significant number of migrant workers from Nepal, and this decision is expected to positively impact bilateral relations. Meanwhile, the statement has added a travel advisory requesting Nepali citizens to postpone any plans to travel to Iran in view of the unfolding developments in the country on January 18. The Foreign Ministry has also urged Nepali nationals currently residing or working in Iran to leave the country at the earliest possible opportunity or to keep their travel documents ready. Executive Chairperson of Public Service Broadcasting Nepal, PSB Nepal, Dr. Mahindra Bista, said that content changes have begun following the transformation of Radio Nepal and Nepal Television into PSB Nepal. Speaking at an inclusive content production and broadcasting training in Biratnagar, Executive Chair Dr. Bista said PSP prioritizes national unity, prosperity and disaster-related issues. Dr. Bista instructed that inclusiveness and diversity be reflected in news and broadcast content. Acting Chief Administrative Officer Bishnuram Neupane urged producers to ensure inclusive voices in the programs. The two-day training is being held in Biratnagar, and journalists and technical staff from several districts and regional broadcasting centers are also participating in the training. Nepal's anti-corruption agency, the Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority, or the CIAA, has filed a corruption case against 8 officials of Udaipur Cement, which is a state-owned company. The accused include the former General Manager Surinder Kumar Paudel and other senior staff members. The case involves alleged financial irregularities totaling between 120 million and 460 million Nepali rupees, which is approximately 900,000 to 3.5 million US. Public sector corruption has been an ongoing issue in Nepal, with the CIAA taking action in an effort to promote accountability and transparency in state enterprises. This case underscores Nepal's continued commitment to addressing corruption in its public sector. In the eastern hills of Nepal, residents struggle to cross the swollen rivers and streams, especially in summer. Suspension bridges, once lifelines for the remote communities, have been swept away, bringing hardship back to their lives. Rojina Rai with our local correspondent Bijay Bodh Lawati takes a look into this plight.
In the remote hills of Panchthar, in eastern Nepal, life is a daily struggle, as the only means of connecting to villages to the outside world is in ruins. For decades, residents were forced to rely on fragile wooden foot bridges to cross rivers and streams, and braving monsoon floods just to have access to their field or visit relatives. Khagendra Chemjong, a 60-year-old resident, has become one of the faces of this enduring struggle. Every day, Chemjong and others cross the river, bearing life-threatening risk just to fulfill their daily activity. 3 years ago, the construction of a suspension bridge brought relief to the villagers, making the journey safer and more manageable. However, that relief was short-lived. During last year's monsoon, incessant rains swept away the only bridge over Nibukhola River in the village. Chemjong and his neighbors are once again forced to navigate the dangerous waters on their own. Government programs have long aimed to replace unstable wooden bridges with suspension and permanent structures, easing life in hilly districts. Addressing the issue, more than 350 suspension bridges were built in Panchthar district by the government and various stakeholders over the time. Yet, these efforts are far from being sustainable. During heavy downpours, nature shows no mercy to villagers, and the urgent need for sustainable infrastructures remain unmet in this eastern district of Nepal. The same struggles begin anew each year with the end of the winter and the onset of the rainy season. Rojina Rai with the local correspondent Bijay Bodh Lawati reporting for NTV World.
Moving on, today marks the conclusion of the Swastani Vrat, which is a traditional religious observance observed mainly by women in Nepal. The month-long fast, which began on the full moon day of Push, which falls around mid-January, involves fasting and listening to sacred stories from the Skanda Puran. These stories, particularly the dialogue between Kumar and the sage Agastya, are believed to bring spiritual and physical strength. Swastani is an important part of Nepali Hinduism, especially in the hilly and mountainous regions of the country. The ritual concludes today with the formal cessation of storytelling, after which participants will break their fast. International news coming up next, but before that, a quick recap of the headlines. Nepal government issues new guidelines to mitigate risk of Nipah virus transmission following reported case in India. Nepal's Election Commission confirms printing of over 28.3 million ballot papers for March 5 elections towards proportional representation. Gold prices fluctuation leaves Nepal's bullion market in turmoil. India's budget for next fiscal year focuses on nurturing rural growth and high-speed rail expansion, allocates 8 billion rupees grant to Nepal. Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei issues a stark warning of a regional war to US if military action launched. And Carlos Alcaraz makes history by defeating Novak Djokovic 2-6, 6-2, 6-3, 7-5 in the men's final at the Australian Open. Israel has partially reopened the Rafah border crossing, allowing humanitarian aid trucks, ambulances and heavy equipment to enter Gaza from Egypt. The move follows months of international pressure to ease restriction at one of Gaza's most critical access points amid the ongoing conflict. Officials say limited movement of people is now permitted, though access for commercial goods and large-scale aid deliveries remains restricted. Aid agencies warn the prolonged closure has worsened shortages of food, medicine and essential supplies in Gaza. Rafah remains Gaza's only border crossing not directly controlled by Israel and is widely seen as a lifeline for the civilians. Early voting has begun in Thailand ahead of the general election scheduled for February 8. Long queues were seen at the polling stations in Bangkok as voters cast ballots under advanced voting provisions. The Election Commission says more than 2.4 million people nationwide have registered for early voting. Authorities report polling stations opened on time and voting proceeded smoothly. The election is expected to play a key role in shaping Authorities report polling stations opened on time and voting proceeded smoothly. The election is expected to play a key role in shaping Thailand's political and economic direction. Elon Musk's SpaceX has applied to launch up to 1 million satellites into Earth's orbit to support artificial intelligence operations. The company says orbital data centers would be more cost and energy efficient than land-based facilities. SpaceX argues that rising AI computing demands are already exceeding terrestrial capabilities. The plan would significantly expand SpaceX's existing Starlink network of nearly 10,000 satellites. Critics warn of space congestion, an allegation the company denies. An improving ecological environment in China's Xinjiang region is attracting a growing number of gray cranes during the winter season. Thousands of the migratory birds have been spotted along the Moyu River in Hotan Prefecture. Local authorities credit wetland restoration, forest protection, and improved water management for the habitat's recovery. The measures have created a safer and more sustainable environment for the migratory species. Officials say the rising crane population reflects broader success in the regional conservation efforts. Time now for business update.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he would welcome Chinese investment in Venezuela's oil industry as the South American country seeks to revive its battered economy following the ouster of leader Nicolas Maduro.
You know, we welcome China. We've already made a deal. India's coming in and they're going to be buying Venezuelan oil as opposed to buying it from Iran. So we've already made that deal, the concept of the deal. But China's welcome to come in and buy oil.
Toyota is recalling 161 and 268 vehicles in the United States due to a potential problem with the rear-view camera display, according to U.S.'s National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The issue involves the rear-view camera image not displaying properly when the vehicle is shifted into reverse, a malfunction that could reduce the driver's visibility behind the vehicle. Federal safety regulators warn that an impaired or missing camera image may increase the risk of a crash, particularly when backing up in tight spaces or around pedestrians. Toyota is expected to notify affected vehicle owners and provide a fix, such as a software update or repair at no cost. The recall is part of ongoing efforts by automakers and regulators to address safety-related defects and ensure that required driver assistance features function as intended. Robotic arms carefully transplanting seedlings and advanced hydroponic systems nurturing plant growth are becoming a common sight inside greenhouses on the outskirts of Shanghai, one of China's major business hubs. At the center of this transformation is Jiqing Technology, a high-tech agricultural company that is harnessing automation, data analysis, and smart farming techniques to boost efficiency and improve crop yields. By replacing labor-intensive processes with precise, machine-driven systems, the company aims to reduce waste, optimize growing conditions, and ensure consistent quality throughout the production cycle. The approach reflects a broader push within China's agricultural sector to modernize farming practices, address labor shortages, and meet rising demand for fresh produce through technological innovation. The project highlights China's growing investment in smart agriculture as companies look to combine robotics, artificial intelligence, and controlled environment farming to make food production more reliable and sustainable. Bitcoin, the world's largest cryptocurrency by market value, was down by 6.53% at $78,719 on Saturday, continuing its decline from the previous session. On Friday, Bitcoin fell to as low as $81,104, the lowest since November 21, while the US dollar gained after former Federal Reserve Governor Kevin Warsh was selected as the next Fed chair. Some investors and traders are concerned he might tighten up on cash in the financial system. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have been regarded as beneficiaries of a large balance sheet, having intended to rally while the Fed greased money markets with liquidity, a support for speculative assets.
Ireland defeated Thailand by 62 runs in a Super 6 match of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup Global Qualifier, held today at the Tribhuvan University Cricket Ground in Nepal. Batting first, Ireland posted 121 for 8 in 20 overs, with notable contributions from Gabby Lewis, 25, and both Amy Hunter and Orla Pendergast, with 24 each. Thailand struggled to chase the target, scoring only 59 runs in 6.1 overs, with captain Narumo Chaiwai top scoring at 22 and Nanapat Koncharan contributing 15. Ireland's bowlers dominated, with Arlene Kelly taking 4 wickets and Lara McBride claiming 3. Having already secured qualification for the World Cup, Ireland's victory reinforced their strong position in the tournament. In Nepal's premier football competition, the Anfa National League, Planning Boys United secured a 3-0 victory over Kakre Bihar Youth Club today. This marks their third win in the ongoing tournament, elevating them to 5th place in the standings, with 10 points from 5 matches. Kakre Bihar, on the other hand, remains at the bottom of the table, having suffered 5 consecutive losses. Football is a growing sport in Nepal, and the National League continues to attract attention as clubs across the country compete for supremacy. The win boosts Planning Boys United's chances of advancing in the tournament. Now the weather details, first from across Nepal and then the world. We are almost at the end of the bulletin, but before we wrap up, let's take a look into our headlines once again. Nepal government issues new guidelines to mitigate risk of Nipah virus transmission following reported case in India. Nepal's Election Commission confirms printing of over 28.3 million ballot papers for March 5 elections towards the proportional representation. Gold prices soar and plunge, leaving Nepal's bullion market in turmoil. India's budget for next fiscal year focuses on nurturing rural growth and high-speed rail expansion, allocates 8 billion rupees grant to Nepal. Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei issues a stark warning of a regional war to US if military action launched. And Carlos Alcaraz makes history by defeating Novak Djokovic 2-6, 6-2, 6-3, 7-5 in the men's final at the Australian Open. That is all for the moment. Do join us for our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. I am Vijata Bhandari. Thank you for watching. Good night.
power of music that political narratives don't.
The real music comes between the notes. It's the silence. I don't think you can change the country. It's not a. I think it's good to start with your own home. You know, your own room. Can you do some changes in your own room? So I'm working in my own room,
fixing your internet.
So you can play the same note. For example, just give you a little bit of an example, Sivan, of this. Sounds very Nepali.
Right.
And it could be on the mountain. But if I did.
That's the signature of Manoj Newana. Let's talk about the Grammy moment. What was it like?
Oh my God. Well, you know, it was 2020. It was blessings. I've been very blessed to also to collaborate with some Westerner musicians. One of them was Deva Pramal and Miten. They were, you know, Miten and Deva, they were very inspired by Eastern philosophy. Also, actually, they were very inspired by Osho's world. And through that, they got to learn a lot about the mantras and the beauty of what our music can bring to the people. And I went to Los Angeles to be there with 10,000 people in the Staple Arena. It was amazing. I wore a Nepali dress and put instead of kukri, I put my bansuri. Wow. It was proudly. I felt